classroom, on-field work. So, just all of the item, and work that we went through to help our folks kind of get to a standard level, right? And I think that paid off. We had 115 officials this season. That's up about 18%. I would take 18% all the time. We might need a little bit more growth, depending on where you tell me teams are coming in at later. But I like the growth. We'll continue to really recruit statewide, especially where we get new teams. We had a new team in Steamboat. We had 3 officials up there. And when she was saying about the mountain range, right? She probably has, although they're a Jeffco team, right? Still have that view of what are our challenges on the other side of the hill, right? So I definitely, we want to know about that, and we'll have to recruit officials there as well. I said this last year, I'll continue to say it. I want the officials to be the least of anyone's worries. We should be, we're the only ones that are tasked with being 100% all the time, being perfect and never reaching that goal, right? But I want us not to be anyone's concern. Kind of our future work. We have a board of directors in place now, beginning before the season, last season. Our training will continue. We have a large core of people that are interested in doing it the right way. So I think that helps our cause a little bit in trying to get to that perfection level. And again, if there are summer leagues, tournaments, scrimmages, whatever it is, we would love to be part of that, because that gets people more reps, right?
Greg, quick question.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to have the clinic? You mentioned the master clinic and on-field work. Are you planning to do that every year?
Oh,
or
yeah.
was that just kind of to start up?
Right now, every year.
Okay.
Because I think it's important. Yeah, some officials have officiated for 30 years doing other sports, right? And some officials have done, whether it's Parks and Rec or NFL or whatever else, flag, but it's not NFHS, right? It's not what we're doing now. And so, yes, I want them to continue that training, and we want to emphasize all of those points of emphasis, any challenges, or, how, again, how do we get better? How do we get to that perfection, right? I know that's not possible, but how do we get there? And doing that master clinic is a way, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you open to feedback from maybe this committee of, I don't have anything specific, but I know that it was on some of the talking points about like the consistency of officiating.
Yeah.
Would you be open if we got some like specific points that then you could take to that clinic and
Absolutely.
talk to the
Absolutely.
officials directly about those things?
Absolutely.
And maybe after you're done with your report, we
Yes.
can open it up if anyone has any right
Oh,
now.
yeah, no, and for sure, because if, when you don't know what you don't know,
Right.
I can't fix it, right?
Right.
And I kind of say that too. And there were some coaches who were very positive in giving negative concerning, issues during the season, right? And so, again, some tougher critics sent some things to say, hey, I get it. I know you're trying. Here's just something to look at. It was a nice presentation, right? It wasn't like, you're terrible,
Right.
get it fixed now, right?
Right.
I didn't, bottom line, I really didn't get that.
Good.
So completely open to things that don't seem to be going the right way, right? Or not consistent, or whatever that happens to be, right? Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned this earlier, I think when we were on the call. I think the sideline sporting behavior drastically changed this year in a negative direction. And I think that I would attribute more to, probably more to assistant coaches. And there's, we have some of our feedback from our officials about rules is, it should be the head coach and not the assistant coaches addressing the official. Kind of clean that up a little bit. I know it's really hard. So there's no silver bullet, but the sporting behavior is a challenge.
Greg, if you don't mind, I'm gonna hop in real quick.
Yep.
I want to address something with that too. So one of the things, I know at least a couple of our other sports, but I know it's one of the things that we would like to see across the board, and I would love to get this group's feedback on our pregame meetings between our officials, our coaches, in addition to administrators, and what we would like to is our athletic trainer to be part of that as well. Ideally, what we would like to see, and I'd like to get your thoughts on how do we make this more consistent, but before every game, regardless of the sport, there should be a meeting that occurs between the officials, the coaches, particularly the head coach. It could be the team captains if the coach would like the team captains to be a part of that. And then it should be the administrator of that institute, of that school as well. We would also, if possible, the athletic trainer being a part of that meeting, and to talk about a couple of things. So one is to make sure everybody's on the same page. So from an athletic trainer standpoint, if there's there should be communication about any emergency action plan. So access to the field, kind of what is the EAP, right? So that's where the administrator and then the athletic trainer, if they're available to be a part of that, is helpful. I think the other piece in terms of our coaches and officials. So Greg, to your point from the sportsmanship standpoint, so if there's communication between the official and the head coach of, hey, coach, we were happy to get feedback from you during the game, or maybe not happy, but we welcome feedback from you from the game, but we only want to hear from the head coach, right? Or if you have a team captain, we'll listen to the team captain, but if they're not the team captain and they're a student athlete, we don't really want to hear from them. So that opportunity could be had during those meetings. I think any other logistics that need to be discussed, they could also be, hey, here's what we're really looking at, or here's going to be a point of emphasis or points of emphasis during the game. I think those are all things that can be helpful during those pre-meetings. I think from our administrator standpoint, if there's things that you would like to include in that too, whether it's spectator control or things like that, I think that could be helpful. So my question to this group is, are there other things that we feel would be helpful in that meeting? I know it's not going to be a long meeting, right? But from a coach's perspective, from an administrator's perspective, obviously Greg from the official's perspective, what are some other things that could be really helpful in that meeting? And then part two to that is, how do we make sure that that's happening consistently, at all of our sporting events? So it should be happening for all sports. But so what are your thoughts on those two items?
So are you talking about the pregame meeting? What else should happen? Yeah, I mean, every time that we have a game that does happen, I wasn't familiar as much with the idea of it not being both coaches talking to the refs at the same time. So the refs coming over one at a time. I'm not sure how negative that is, but I think for a sense of community, I would love, and sportsmanship, I would love it to be both coaches at the same time. But they do a pretty good job. The big things that were just consistent this year was asking if we had trick plays that they needed to watch out for. Told us about, oh my gosh, what was I trying to say? Clarifying the new rules, like the only 2 timeouts per half. They were really good about that for the first half of the year. Obviously, by that point, everybody should get down. So having my initial thought when I hear about the athletic director always being there is that, I know mine is usually stuck between 3 or 4 different areas.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, if it's stuck on, it has to be athletic director as opposed to a representative of the school administration. Like maybe it's my principals.
Yeah, I think it's whoever's
Just
the
the game
supervisor.
man.
Okay, cool.
Man.
The game
Or
manager.
I'd say athletic trainer. I mean, ours are covering multiple events, so they may not, flag football may not be the priority
Sure.
sport that day.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I hate to say it that way.
I think it's a great idea. I just don't know how realistic it is. And I'd be open to not just shutting it down and be like, oh, it can't happen. But what could we do to make it happen and really go into that more?
I think one of the things, we talked about that because we had one of our preseason meetings, Jen joined us, and an athletic trainer from the Broncos joined us from Children's. But they talked about some of that stuff, and some of it was the health piece of it, right? And maybe get exactly what you're saying, having a meeting athletic trainer. And so, one of the challenges is just obviously everyone getting together and having a discussion, and then how long does that discussion go? So when is your pregame meeting occurring in the, before a game, right? And to your point, one reason we do it separate is because if both coaches are there, I don't get to ask that question, what's your trick play?
Gotcha, that's fair, that's a good point, that's a great point. Great
So, not that that's the end all be all,
No,
right? But, so
That's a good
that's
point.
one reason that we end up being separate.
Yeah.
It's not to
that completely makes sense.
each go to your own corner.
I just don't do trick plays, so I don't put a lot into, unless it's my younger kids.
But I know there have been officials who just bring both coaches together, they have a discussion, they never ask that question.
I was thinking about the whole plan for like, I don't know exactly how you said, but like the health plan. The refs will come to us and have their cards of this is who your refs are, and maybe even some refs went over and here's some main rules to a focus. I really like that when they did that. What if we had the same thing in reverse? Like here's our facilities paper that's like, this is how long it takes emergency vehicles to get here. This is the entrance. And then the refs have that part.
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
Just something that's easy to print off. I mean, we're already printing off the names for the roster and stuff like that. Print that off and here you go. Coach Tim and Malvey, here's all the escape plans, stuff like that.
Sure.
Our nearest AED, et cetera, et cetera.
Other
That
thoughts?
is something, if I can pop into that is something that during those pregame meetings, those emergency action plans, or trainers or admin that are there, that is something that we ask our coaches to be aware of as well. So that meeting that happens beforehand, sometimes, again, I agree in most sports, it's handled individually. Whether soccer, wrestling, football, those meetings aren't held with coaches. Those meetings are mainly held with security staff, admin, and trainers. But those emergency action plans should be known by coaches and staffs. So beforehand, it'd probably be helpful. I think officials know enough. They've been to enough of our fields where they might know, but just reviewing that as the admin on duty or the game manager at the field, I think it's something to look at as well.
Thanks, David.
I think that a lot of schools that we play in, we do the same thing as we send that out beforehand.
Yeah.
And so it could just be a review of, hey, this is where you go. Let's walk through it real quick, because especially for, flag football gets compared to tackle football, all right? A tackle football game that obviously always goes out. So if you can just do that across other sports, I think it would help.
Yeah, it's good.
I'd love that to be a standard, in addition to just probably off topic, and I won't go too far off it, but some coaches are really, really great, and admins are like, hey, you're coming to our facility this week. And not even talk about all the stuff we're talking about right now, but here's where your buses can go. Here's where this can go. Here's where you should park. This is the field you should be at. And I'm so appreciative whenever coaches do that. And that could be part of that, almost making it like a standard of, here's some good things you should do prior to your event you're hosting. And that's part of it.
You're right, it's helpful, because we, as officials, we kind of get the same kind of email, right?
Perfect.
Here, locker rooms here. We went as far as, we created a venue directory.
Oh, nice.
And so every place that we went to, there was a map, the field, park here, locker room here, if we knew that stuff. If it was available, and then, obviously just kind of the basics, the address and location, but then any other special notes, like
Yeah.
there is a locker room, or the bathrooms are here, or whatever.
If you show up
Yes,
at 3:15, we're letting out of school at that point. So maybe
Yeah.
come 30 minutes prior.
So in a way, you're the EAS, maybe there's a way to even, and I don't know how long they are and what they involve, but maybe and it could just be a link that we could, for us, that we could add to our sheet, just to say, here's the EAS information, and helps people just prepare way prior to it, right? So then you have, less ramp up before a game. Right?
Love that.
Great. So I know our venue directory was shared with some other assigners, so I don't know what they think of that, but our officials think it's pretty cool, so.
Can I ask a question about spectators for flag football and what everybody's doing? So the majority of our games are played at one of our stadiums. We've done seating similar to what we do for soccer. So we open up one side of our bleachers and we have fans sitting on the same side. So team one over here, team two over here. But with soccer, they're right behind their benches. With flag football, the benches are on opposite sides of the field. So I've had some athletic directors ask, why don't we open up that? Well, it's a cost saving. I mean, to get people to staff these games when we have fewer spectators, it just hasn't made a lot of sense. But I'm just curious what others are doing, and if we're like,
We're doing.
that's out of the norm, like, then, okay,
And I know Arapahoe, their stadiums are doing the same thing.
okay. It hasn't been an issue, like, as far as like spectators being right there, and like rivalries or anything like that, but I was just curious, like, if we were like, that was out of the.
I was gonna say the same. Our facility is small. Like, we only have one set of bleachers.
Okay.
So there is no other side.
You only have that up.
Yeah, so, and it's been completely fine. It's been good for the most part. There's only one school I can even think of that their crowd is just the most rowdy and the most fired up, but it's never a negative towards the other team. So it's actually really, really encouraging to see as we foster this new community of flag football. Let's not turn it ugly yet,
Right.
or at all if we can avoid it. So
I agree, from just an official standpoint, exactly what you're saying, when you're on the field and you hear the band and the cheers and the like, you're like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Awesome.
In a way fires us up as well. You guys are having fun, we're having fun.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Pomona and TCA. Both of their fan bases travel well and are incredible. And we knew after last year what we were gonna get when we played Pomona again this year.
Yeah.
But again, it's just them being excited for their team. And it's what sports should be.
Yeah.
The other team isn't the enemy just because they're not wearing the same shirt as you.
Greg, thanks for letting us kind of talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Any feedback that you all have, especially as we get closer to this next year, let us know. But we think that'll be helpful. Some great suggestions, things that we can do prior to the game that'll help with that as well. So I appreciate us having a discussion on that. So Greg, back over to you.
So I have a note here just about fans, and I was just gonna say, well, I don't think we had any issues with fans. Maybe every once in a while you get pot shot by someone,
One bad apple.
one bad apple kind of thing. But if you were ranking them, you'd say it was an A+, kind of thing. I don't think that we had issues, even coming or going from the field to the car, or during the game. I mean, again, there's always one or two that you get pot shot, but not, again, I thought really good. Not to belabor the bad sporting, but just a comment. So again, if a bench gets an unsportsmanlike, it goes to the head coach, and the head coach gets two, they get ejected, right? If the assistant coach is the problem, the head coach leaves, and now no one's there to corral the bad apple, right? I think that's just something that we need to consider, and maybe the federation needs to consider, is get the bad guy out, keep the good guy, right? Whoever it happens to be. And if it's the head coach, it's the head coach, but if it's the assistant, whoever the bad guy is, if they're getting the unsportsmanlike, they're the ones that need to go. So that's just a comment, right? And I know you try to give the head coach the unsportsmanlike because he's in charge. But let's face it, we only can control so much of other people, right? So,
And that's not the same from sport to sport either. Is it? I mean, in other sports, the assistant coaches get a toss.
Right, around sportsmanship, I think it mostly goes to the head coach, but I think I think that assistants can get ejected directly in other sports.
Especially like in soccer.
But like I know in
Yeah,
baseball,
oh, for
it's like
sure.
the fans heckling, it goes straight to the head coach too. Some other sports, but
Which I think it should. It's up to us as the coach at that point to be the example and to shut it down. We don't have sports without refs. And it's the most thankless job in the world. It's no matter what you do, you're upsetting half of the people one way or the other. So
and you're right, because if it continues, either people quit or they stop going to your
Yeah.
school,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And so if people stop going to your school, you're gonna get
newer
lower
refs.
level officials and you're gonna hate it more,
Yeah.
right? Just on the training and the master clinic, just wanna say thank you. I don't know if you know, but you hosted us.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay, so, that was nice.
Yeah, good.
So, and it
We're
worked out
happy to
well.
do
We,
it.
you know, again, we have ideas about, you know, this, that, being different orders and, you know,
Mhm.
whatever, but that's what we always do, right? We always try to improve, right? That's why we're here today too, right? All right, I think, just a couple more items that I have, just the duration of games and the game time splits. I thought we did probably a better job this year than last year on the splits, especially on double headers or triple headers, right? Depending on where we were. So, you know, that 1:45 time split kind of seems about the right break time, you know, to get us through games, you know, back to back to back at a facility, whether it's a JV varsity or just a, you know, triple header varsity, or whatever. Right? So seemed like this year was better in being on time for those. So I think just positive feedback there.
So to clarify, if we schedule an hour 45, you feel like that's enough time for the game to end and the next game to warm up and get started?
Not warm up, they gotta warm up, they gotta warm up on their own. They have, gotta be ready to come on the field.
Okay,
So basically, I think a lot of games were on 2 hour splits, knowing that 1:45 is kind of our sweet spot.
Okay.
Game could be over 1:30, 1:35, 1:45, right? But gives the officials a chance to quick drink, meet with the coaches, start on time.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So
so 2 hour would probably be better.
2 hours, you know, especially when you're doing, say if you're at Jeffco Stadium and you're doing a triple or a quad and you got, you know, multiple schools coming and going. But the real key is they have to warm up on the side, in the end,
Yeah.
you know, the end zones, whatever, alternate field prior to the game, and then ultimately come on. Mini warm up, meet the coaches, boom, let's go.
Okay.
Right?
Thanks.
But I thought a lot better on timing this year. So, last thing that I have is about our crew sizes. You know, the mandate or the minimum or the requirement is 3. I think we went off on, all of our games except literally a handful of JV games went off with 3. And then there were some that went off with 4 on a varsity game. And then obviously the playoffs were all 4s, right? I'll take your feedback on what you think the difference is between 3 and a 4. But mine is it's vastly different and vastly better because you have more eyes to watch more parts of the field. Again, we're still not going to be perfect, but you know, you have different responsibilities when you have a 4th person out there, and you can help adjudicate a little bit more and get some of the, you know, shenanigans, if you will, out of the game, right? Just the illegal stuff. I'm not saying anyone's.
So for my part later, I reached out to every coach. I just emailed every coach and said, hey, I was given the honor of being invited to come here. It's just not me in Mountain View. It's the coaching community. I want to hear from you. I got responses from 11 different coaches. Fantastic. The number one definitely was about reffing. It's always going to be about reffing.
Yeah.
And I say that just with the utmost respect for you and your team, everything you've done. You know, you've helped me. You make yourself very available. But kind of all the things you've just talked about were the things I've pointed out. Inconsistent rules application. So I love to hear, and I'm going to bring back to my coaching fraternity that, that you guys are doing all these different, what was the first thing you said? You did a clinic.
Master clinic.
What was it?
Master clinic,
The standard
reps.
training.
Rep standard. training.
Reps.
Ref reps.
Cool. So first off, I was wondering, can that be made available to teams? Is that something that we can go to like a district? Like she's got 5 schools. Could her schools all pony up together and be like, let's have our coaches go to one of these things?
Yeah.
Just so, or I can bring one of the coaches in or somebody like that. Cause I think that sounds like great training, not just for you guys,
Yeah.
but from us, because rules are open to interpretation, even though they're not meant to be. People just put their own bias and their own thought and their own prejudgment on it.
For sure. So two things. Yes, that is a possibility. They charge a seat license to
Okay.
go through it, right? So it's depending on your timing, it's 45 or 50 bucks a seat.
Okay.
It's a lifetime deal for that person.
Okay.
And they're going to do updates when in January, after January, and they get those updates. they're gonna get those updates and they're gonna update that course for us, right? So it's gonna become current, current every year. So, without a recharge for, use because it's gonna update it.
I think that sounds like an incredible investment.
So that's part of our dues, is to pay for that reps.
Okay.
That's the official. So we're not indirectly charging them an additional fee to go through that standard training, right? It's just part of our fee. The other piece around that is if you want a coach's clinic to talk about rules, we'll do that.
Yeah.
So we all want to get in a gym or an auditorium and have a discussion and, and maybe there's the most rules to discuss or better understand, not going through the whole rule book, right?
Yeah.
That'd be boring. But if we want to talk about specific things, we could prepare and have that discussion and then.
No, exactly.
Take on extra questions.
We already have the rule book Zoom every year and we listen the way we do the best we can, but no, an actual hands-on, on-field. And you and your team probably know more than I do. Some of the coaches that maybe chirp a little bit more,
Sure.
Put them in a referee jersey and let them explain, this is what we're looking at. Now, you don't have a dog in the horse. You're not going for your team versus their team. This is a random team versus. So I don't know. I think that there's something to that would kind of marry the partnership between refs and coaches a little bit more, the understanding. So I think that's incredible.
And again, completely standing offer. If we want to do that, we'll figure out how to make it happen.
Love that. So the big feedback was just kind of, I got feedback of officials have different interpretations of key rules. For example, the no diving rule, which honestly, I'm not even sure about. Is there a no diving rule? I don't think there is. I think for safety, we shouldn't be, but at the same time, it's not a.
Yeah, so there's, just real quick, you can dive.
Yeah.
But if you're diving and ultimately make contact, if I dive and contact you, it's on me.
Yeah.
Penalty on me. But if I dive into the end zone, as a for instance, and there's no one around.
So I might have to go more into it with that coach to see if somebody told them, no, you can't dive or not.
Yeah.
Setting the established rush line. I did have another coach talk about moving the rush line back. And I'm an NFL flag coach and a high school 7v7 coach. I literally at the beginning of each season do a NFL flag to high school flag. Here's the differences. Here was you can't do. And when I first heard about a 1 yard rush line, I'm like, that's absolutely insane. But the fact that the quarterback can take off running, the fact that there's blockers. So it really is a different game. Like I almost say NFL flag almost cripples people to the high school game when they get older. So I'm working with my home league to change NFL flag to stop at 5th grade and do middle school version of 7v7.
And we agree with that as well. DPS runs the federation book rules, but there are other middle school leagues that are doing whatever rule book they are, whether it's NFL or they're just their own version.
Yeah.
Right. We would like to standardize. That's kind of on me a little bit too, but to go and say, as a benefit for your middle schoolers going into high school, getting on this rule book sooner is just going to make it better.
With NOCO flag football up north, they literally just helped them start all girls divisions. We had 6th, 7th, and 8th grade middle school. We had 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade elementary, 2 divisions. And a lot of the girls that won the NFL flag one as 8th graders came to me in the summer as 9th graders this last season. I think most of them quit just because of the stark differences. So I think there's something to that.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily, even though I love NFL flag and what it stands for, I don't love the idea of pushing the rush line back. But they said the issue was setting the established rush line and were people over it, not like that. Coaches cannot prepare their teams effectively if the rule book changes from week to week. That's probably a little dramatic, but the only thing I personally saw with that, honestly, and this is to me the dumbest thing in the world, was the whole can you say defer or not and what that means. That was an issue between 5 different referee staffs.
It is the bane of my existence.
Well, and you took care of it mid-season. And from mid-season on, so again, props to you. So but just feedback for you. And that was the only thing I heard about, like different rules from week to week. I don't think that many, but four of the 11 coaches did want to bring that stuff up. And then you brought up the idea of staffing levels. One coach said 3 officials for a game covering a field larger than a basketball court with 14 players is insufficient to manage the pace and coverage. Require 4 officials for all varsity contests to ensure adequate coverage and rule enforcement, aligning with the seriousness and size of the competition. Now, I understand there's way more logistics to that not having enough referees, not, the cost for schools, all that good stuff. So I love it as an idea. The only thing I'd say to that is 3, I think is fine. It definitely did hurt when it went down to 2. I was part of 3 of those JV games where it was only 2.
Yeah.
And I'm a different kind of coach. I'm not looking to blame other people. So the second I knew we had 2, and oh my gosh, it was a situation, it was actually at Cherry Creek. And one of the refs was going to be like, I think the third on the team, and the other 2 guys couldn't make it. And then they brought somebody else that they told me was their first night. So I went straight to my team. I said, hey, this isn't going to be the best night for reffing. It straight up isn't. They're humans. We are going to not make excuses. We're going to make plays. We're going to, and things happened, and flag guards were missing this and this. And it is what it is. I'm just afraid that not everybody has the temperament I do to not go off on those people and chase them off. You know what I mean? So going down to 2 is hard. So that's the only reason I would push for the idea of 4 if possible, just so if somebody's missing, then we're down to 3, and I still feel like we're adequate. So, but like you said, it didn't happen across varsity.
Yeah, and I would say 4 for varsity, 3 for JV or sub varsity would be the goal. Again, I understand about budgets.
Yeah.
And money, and I get it.
Something to aspire to.
Yeah, and whatever each league wants to do, great.
Yeah.
And if you have, and another option, I guess, around that is if you have a interesting game, a rival game, whatever it happens, whatever you want to call that game.
Yeah.
I want 4 for this one, right? And I want 4 for that one, 3 for that, 3 for that. The more opportunities we get for 4s only helps us be better at the end.
Yeah.
When we're doing the playoffs and when people are much more comfortable being in a different.
It's not a stark contrast to, oh, we've been doing it this way with 3 all year, and now all of a sudden this,
Yeah.
and now we got to know what.
As a, for instance, the back judges in a 3 is on the sideline and a 4 is in the middle of the field. That's a stark difference for that official.
Yeah.
And different responsibilities, right? So help to prepare, right? And it's really hard to just have a scrimmage mid-season or late season and say, everyone come and not everyone's gonna get on the field, and they're not, doing is learning, seeing is believing, doing is learning. And if you can't get on the field, it's harder for those concepts. So sometimes you kind of wing it a little bit from, I'm in a different position, sort of thing, right?
So it sounds like, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, you're good.
It sounds like you guys are willing to do 4 if they're available. So that would be something that maybe the coaches should talk to their athletic directors, and I would talk to like our district athletic director just to schedule and request 4 ahead of time.
We
so
know
then
these
we
games
avoid
specifically,
that.
we should probably
And
push for
then
4.
instead of, it seems like it's doable. And so that can be like a district by district basis of requesting that number of officials.
Yeah. I think one other piece about officials and scheduling is you guys know your biggest days.
Yeah.
Of sports days. So if you've got, multiple tackle games, multiple softball games, multiple whatever else, soccer games, whatever else is happening on a Saturday, let's just pick on a Saturday. Throwing whatever number you want to say, a bunch of flag football games on that day. I get it, makes total sense that on a scheduling, but many of our officials are the same officials for all those sports.
So plan ahead.
Right? And so sometimes we definitely ran up against later in the season of a couple of days. Oh, and the other one is the other one that is great for training and work is the sub-varsity jamborees. But then all of a sudden you need, a dozen, 15, 20 officials at this one location to do the jamboree.
Okay.
That's much less officials for the rest of the sport, let alone the other sports, right? So,
Okay. So
there's some of that juggling, and maybe we just need to have a continuing discussion about, can you do that jamboree on a different day or whatever, right?
yeah,
So,
planning
yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
And Greg, before we move on, I know you might have another couple things.
No,
Do you have
no.
any other points that you wanted to, points of for your
No, I
report?
think that's really my notes that I had,
Okay.
right? I know we're gonna have other discussion. I have comments about that. I'm not going down that path right now.
Okay. Did you have any?
The last thing was just that 5 of the 11 said, and I'm really happy to go back and report on everything. I've been taking notes about everything you said so far. Mandatory unified training program. So you've already addressed that right in the beginning. So they're gonna be very happy to hear that.
Yeah, and we're gonna continue that. We just had our board meeting on Sunday night. And we're re-upping and redoing, and any new official will be going through that same training as along with master clinics, and all of our scrimmages and everything are offered to our officials. Again, we know people are people, and there are people who are there just to make money, and there are other people who, it's an avocation and they have pride and they want to work on their craft. So, you get that, kind of get that crossover, right? And so when you say, it's not a surprise, when you say there's inconsistencies, well, I would wager a bet that the inconsistency is the one guy who's there just to collect the money and not really maybe attend the master clinic or attend the rules, or just kind of whip, pencil whipped, if you will, how it works, pencil whipped through a training, right?
Yeah. Fair enough. I know it's a job that will never be perfect, but I appreciate that you do everything with perfect intention. So thank you for all you and your team do.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Does anyone else have anything for Greg?
Thanks.
Yeah.
It means, you know what, that means almost more than anything, right? Trying.
Yeah.
And I think successful.
Yeah.
Like you said, getting better every year. This is still a new sport, a new high school sport. So as people think they're becoming experts, that might be where some of that sportsmanship is coming in, because at first no one really knew
Oh, yeah.
they were doing, and now all of a sudden people, so I think the clarity that you can bring to that, and the clarity that you continue to strive for is really helpful. So thank
I
you.
will say one last just comment about sportsmanship.
Yeah.
I did baseball for a dozen years, and basically it was about all you could do to get off the field without maybe getting the middle finger. In this sport, the girls hunt you down to give you high fives and say thanks. It's like, holy cow, what, it blew my mind when it happened, right?
Right.
So kudos to that part of this sport.
Great.
Let's not lose that.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna just move on to the CHSAA report. Aaron, did you want to head that part up with those items?
Absolutely. And then, so I'll give mine, and then, Coach Tess, if you're okay, hopping right after I do mine, if you're okay with hopping into
I got you.
stuff you have for coaches.
Absolutely.
Okay, that sounds good. So from a CHSAA report standpoint, a couple of things I'd love to just kind of share with everybody. So one, it was a great regular season. Obviously, this was season 2, exciting. We're one of 12 schools across the country that have sanctioned flag football. So it's exciting to be a part of that. It's exciting to see our partnership, as Coach mentioned before, with the Broncos, and what that's looked like and what that will continue to look like as we grow the sport. It's a very, very popular sport. It's continuing to grow. It will continue to grow. I'm interested to see what our new teams will look like as we move forward. So I'm excited about that. Postseason was very exciting. I thought we had some great matchups. From a venue standpoint, we had 3 really strong facilities that we were able to have, as hosts for our venues. So I was really excited about that. We had, from a 4A perspective, we had a new champ this year, Coach, sorry. And then we had a repeat for 5A, but some really competitive games, I thought, from a playoff standpoint. Colette, anything you want to add because I wasn't here first year, but from last year to this year in terms of just kind of overall from a postseason standpoint?
I think obviously with the first year, no one really knew what to expect when it came to postseason, when we met as a committee trying to figure out what we wanted to do for all those postseason games, how we kind of wanted to see that tournament look like. I feel like compared to last year, a lot of schools understood it more. And there was less questions, which was nice. It's a learning curve. I think overall, it's just continuing to get better each time we see it.
That's good.
Do you think, or is it just really more under consideration, but splitting that first weekend now, that first Saturday into single games? Or will there still be a doubleheader potential for some teams?
Greg, that's a great question. I'm gonna pause that one. We'll come back to that one. I know that's one of the things that we'll talk about. So, yeah. No, that's okay. I appreciate you. bringing that up.
That's an agenda item for sure.
Yes, that will be a continued discussion, absolutely. Bill, some numbers just quickly. So attendance wise, 2024, we were at 3,800. This year, we were at 4,600. So we're very fortunate too this year, I think, to have great weather through all of our fall sports actually, but particularly for flag football. So I think that always helps. It's always good to see that number go up, and we anticipate it continue to go up as well.
I
So
will say too, we did move the season earlier
Mhm.
by a week, so I think that could have contributed as well.
Yeah.
No, I know it wasn't on the same weekend as cross country anymore, so
Yeah.
a few more ADs and admin, they're able to get out and support their girls on their team, so that was nice to see.
absolutely. So that was great. I think one thing that we would ask from our committee is if there are ideas or suggestions in terms of how to obviously increase attendance, I think is always helpful. I think our early games, those are a little bit tough in terms of attendance wise, and also depends on who's playing and where they're coming from. So those are always things to consider. And then obviously the big piece being weather, but we were really lucky this year from a weather perspective. So hopefully we can continue to have that. So, but any thoughts that you all have? I know we'll talk about the double headers here in just a minute, but any thoughts that you all have from your schools, coaches, administrators about playoffs and postseason, whether it's venue sites or things like that, logistics, we're always open to that feedback. So we appreciate that. The other thing that I just kind of wanted to touch on was our flag football uniform survey that we sent out. So we had about 44 responses, about 70% response rate, which is not terrible. In terms of really specific questions on our uniform. So a lot of the focus was on our belts, our flag belts, the flag design, all that kind of stuff. And so a couple quick things here from that. So one of the questions we asked were, our flag single color with no words, logos, multicolored. So we had about 31% that said that they weren't in compliance, so not terrible. But of those 31, or that 31 percentage that said they were not in compliance, they've all got plans to be in compliance here pretty soon, within the next 2 years, which is what we asked. So we were happy with that. Single colors for our uniform shorts. So I know that our uniform shorts, that was a little bit of a challenge. So one of the things was single color. The other one was no pockets. Well, it's not helpful when Nike is one of the big distributors of flag football shorts, and they all have pockets. So, we realized some of that stuff, and we're obviously very lenient with that. But, we had about 13% that were not in compliance, which is not terrible, especially for, second year. And then everybody, again, who was not in compliance right now has mentioned how they're going to be in compliance. So we were happy with that. And then the contrasting flags for both home and away uniforms, that was another question we asked. So I was less than 20% that were not in compliance for that, which is pretty good. So, and then again, the folks who were not in compliance, they justified why they weren't, and then what their plan looked like moving forward. So, I think the other piece was the one piece quick release flag belt. So we had, I think everybody who responded to the survey was in compliance with that. So that seemed to be pretty straightforward, and folks are having. I think the other one too was we asked about flag length, and I think we had everybody responded was in compliance with that. So we didn't have any really issues with the flag lengths or anything like that. We did have one situation where one team's flags were shorter than the other team, but it was the same length, right? So they were the same. It was both teams were in compliance. Yeah, in terms
That was
of
me.
So there we go.
So yeah, the other team was definitely they had very, very long flags.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned how long they were supposed to be. And
Sure.
I believe their flags were like 16 inches. Ours were for 14.5.
Yeah.
And compliance is 14.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it's a difference.
Yeah.
So it might be something we have to do as a standardized, but I have a whole section about flags. So I don't know if you want to talk about that now or wait till my part.
We'll jump into that in just a
Okay,
moment.
sounds good.
But excuse me, Coach, that's a good point in terms of the big thing is it being the length and being long enough, right? So
Yeah.
we did have some schools that maybe some were longer, some were shorter. And so when you have maybe one school that's shorter and one school's longer, that does make a difference, right?
Yeah.
And then so we had the officials, measure everything and everything was good to go. So that is something that did come up. But the good thing about it is everybody was at least the minimum length, which is good. So.
Why would anyone go longer? I don't know. They just didn't know. I'm sure that
I think
they just,
a lot, like last year, a lot of people were giving kits. So you just didn't even know better. It was
Okay.
just, oh, this is what it is.
okay,
And so, yeah,
So-
it's something that could be used as a strategy.
maybe just, a reminder of like, it can be 14.5.
Yeah.
That's gonna stay, correct? That's, to
Yes,
your knowledge, that's not gonna change, okay.
to our knowledge, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a minimum or maximum?
No, minimum
Minimum.
14 inch, there's no maximum.
Oh, is it? It's 14, not 14.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the other challenge too. That's a really good question, Kylie, from things for us to continue to communicate. It's just that there is no maximum length,
Yeah.
right? Which to your point, and why would you want it to be longer? But again, if they're instant receiving or things like that.
And honestly, nobody looks into that. You just
Right.
order a triple thread
Yeah.
black belt.
Yeah,
you're
we
not
might want to
like-
just say, so talk to your vendors and just make sure they're
Yeah.
14
You just order them.
or whatever.
There's no
whatever.
standard, there's
Yeah.
no flags are us and everybody's got the same one. It's all over the place, so. The funnier thing was that coach was the only one that was complaining about the real complaining, which was that I had dark flags with dark shorts, which everybody else, but we got rid of them halfway through the season, so.
Well, the other tough part is when you got a kid that's so skinny that, they wrap it around and then they have this third flag, this other piece that's hanging down from the belt that's not a
Yeah.
true flag. Like,
Another comment is flags can be ordered just like pants or shirts in small, medium and large.
Right.
Right, so.
People wearing the wrong size.
So,
Uh-huh.
when, we go and you just order
Yep.
flags. Order multiple sizes.
Yeah.
Right, as well, right? So.
Yeah, I had that. The girls knew the yellow clips were small, the white
Yeah.
clips were medium, the black clips or whatever were large. And you still had girls grabbing the wrong size or trying to grab smaller and then they pop off on their own and triple threads, spoilers are the resistance, but we'll talk about that in a nice way later.
So, we'll continue to get feedback from folks in terms of that survey. I think the biggest, I don't want to say issue, but the biggest challenge we saw was just flag designs. And a lot of that came from the changing of the rules from NFHS and what we were initially told versus what's in play now. So John, your question of will it change? We hope it won't, but
Yeah.
sure. Maybe, I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but I will be now on the official NFHS Flag Football Rules Committee, so I'll be attending the meetings, which will be good. So
Probably just needs to be a point of emphasis at coaches' meetings and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
The flag length, there is a minimum.
Yeah,
There are different sizes.
yeah. When they're working with your vendors, make sure that is something to check.
I just don't want to get to a point where our pregame meeting is everybody coming over and measuring their flags.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not interested.
Yeah, no, I agree for us or you.
So that'll be good. But I think the biggest thing that we saw this year was just, or I guess two biggest things is one is the contrasting bottoms with the flags. That was, a big thing that came out. And then the other piece was just the flag designs themselves. So
Yeah.
I think everybody's, for the most part, pretty clear, I think, in terms of what those two things should look like. I know the flag designs is a newer piece and a newer adjustment that we're making, but I think the contrasting bottoms or the contrasting flags with uniforms, I think that's been pretty standard, right?
Yeah.
So I think then the grace period that we're given is reasonable. Would you all agree with that in terms of letting folks get in compliance?
I agree. I was actually going to ask about that because because we had a lot of conversations back and forth about my flags and my shorts and all the good stuff. So a lot of the stuff that they're talking about is me. I'm the problem. It's me. But anyway, you had talked about saving until compliance till 2027, or is that getting pushed up to the next season?
What did we say, 26?
It says 26.
Yeah, I thought we were doing.
So it's 26
Started
solid flags,
Yeah.
solid flags. Yep. No logos, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
And what about the pockets?
So there's not supposed to be any pockets on the
Right.
shorts. One of the challenges is Nike, who's, one of the main distributors, I guess, or one of the folks that
So
go.
none of my Nikes have shorts
That's-
or have pockets.
Have pockets in them? Okay.
So if you need me to send out a link to, I've been going through BSN.
I think that could be helpful, Coach.
Okay.
I think, two things. The flag length piece, I think, could be
Mhm.
helpful, but I think also as we're working with vendors on whether it's flag belts, flags, or even shorts, if there's some
Yeah.
preferred ones that our coaches go through that we know don't have pockets, I think that could be pretty helpful. So, yeah.
I sent you one other thing about just the color. And again, this came from the baseball update. But it made it sound like it was gonna be across NFHS in all sports, the way I read it. So when you go back, I want you for sure to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
But it says in 2027, school's name, nickname, logo, mascot, and or player's name are permitted on the uniform top and or pants. This is a universal rule adoption by every NFHS rules committee to uniform for every NFHS rules publication.
Said no.
That goes totally against what we just talked about.
Yeah.
Right?
So Greg and I talked, and I'll get clarification from NFHS on our committee if that is, if flag football will be the exception to that, because again, based off of that, it contradicts everything.
Yeah.
Which is not good, and just leads to more confusion. And then, so I'll get clarification on that as well. And it could be a potential state adoption too, right? So maybe everybody else does it, but the state of Colorado doesn't potentially. And we'll obviously have more conversation about what that looks like, but that is one of those things that does make it a lot more confusing. So, yeah.
One back.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then as I mentioned before, I'll be a part of the flag football committee, which will be good. So any thoughts, suggestions from this committee, please make sure you bring them to me so that I can bring them to the committee meeting. Those meetings will be in January. Will be our first round of meetings. We'll have some other additional meetings to leading up to that, but that will be our first in person. So
And maybe Tim, maybe you, I mean, you have ideas or, you got feedback and, I've already done that with our officials. I have a dozen line items of things to be considered, right? And some of them are just, for lack of any other word, just typo, change a word, right? It's easy. But there are others that are like, this needs to have a serious consideration and probably more discussion at a table in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah.
But it sounds like you've got some feedback from coaches as well. Maybe we can just combine that list so that we're not sending the same things.
I'm very, very happy
To
to
Aaron.
collaborate, whatever, work with you guys. So I come down again, we can do it online, whatever. I love this game at all levels and I want to see it to grow. It just got announced yesterday that the NFL is investing $32 million to do a professional flag league.
Right.
So it's like, I just want this to keep growing. Colleges all over the place are popping up. So it's here, it's coming, and every year we get closer to the Olympics, it's just going to be bigger and bigger, bigger.
Do you think that you could maybe do like a shared document with the committee and that way we could add something and then Aaron, you could take a look at it and if there's pieces that.
I have it in a Google Doc already, so.
Perfect. Yeah, I'd be happy to, Greg, whatever you
Okay.
need.
yeah, it's a great idea. Yeah.
And you said that's in January.
That's in January 26th through the 28th.
Are there any like big changes that you've heard about or anything that we should know?
They're gonna send out, I think it's either, I think right after the new year, they're gonna send out kind of what will be on the
Okay,
agenda for that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that way, the other piece is giving them feedback, but also being able to give this group feedback of what's the main items that are being discussed and
Right.
proposals, things like that. So, yeah.
So cool. Have fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be good. It'll be interesting to see, obviously, other
Yeah.
focuses, yeah.
And the other thing, a case book, again, you don't think about us, but again, back to coaches understanding, if you read a rule and then you have a case book play, oh my gosh, I understand it now, right?
Yeah.
So we're hoping that case book or case plays are part of the next iteration of the rule book process, right?
Love that. I love that.
So fingers crossed.
great. Did you have anything else for the rules committee or anything, or should we move on?
No, we're good. If we want to go
Yeah.
to coach, it'd be great.
Great.
So, kind of a common thing. I've got 3 more points and this next one might be something you guys just want me to email instead of going into full conversation about, but I can go in as much as you want. But Coach Pearson from Doherty, he and a couple other people have mimicked the overall sentiment, but not necessarily what he's proposing right now. The idea, again, it as close to tackle as possible. And I don't necessarily love that because I think the most beautiful thing about flag football is it's something, it's the alternative, not trying to take over tackle any more than softball's trying to take over baseball. But one thing he said, and he gives some really good reasoning for it, is a proposal for a full kicking game, kickoffs and onside conversions. Now, obviously, onside conversion would not at all be like tackle. It wouldn't be a scenario where, we're kicking a ball and everybody going to dive for it. But he outlined several key ones that are in line, and I have to find it. Okay, so his online conversion, for example, he said modeled after Florida high school rules, which of course Florida and Georgia were the inaugural states to do flag football at high school level and back in 2001, 2002, I think. So the idea is that a team may elect to attempt an onside conversion, an OC, at any time after a touchdown, unless they are leading by 19 or more points following the try. The attempt is made from the 20-yard line. If the offense, team A, can convert on one attempt past a 40-yard line, they keep the ball and they start at their 30-yard line, and they remain on offense. If it doesn't, the other team gets the ball, but they get to start at the 30-yard line. So it's kind of an outline there.
You go from your own 20 and get to your own 40?
Yes, midfield. So if you go from your 20 and you can cross, so basically you got one shot at a 20-yard play.
Okay.
And if you can do that, you can't score on it. So if I throw a 60-yard touchdown or whatever, doesn't matter, but it just means that we keep the ball. So now it's our offense on our 30 heading across midfield. So it's just an idea for strategy, add a little more excitement to the game. Kicking, he's actually talking about actual kickoffs. Let's see, after a touchdown, the scoring team will kick off from its own 30-yard line instead of the ball automatically being placed at the opponent's. Oh, I apologize. This is the kickoff. So how we start at the 14-yard line and we're 1st and 6 to the 20. He's talking about an actual kickoff for a kickoff return. So I think his overall plan is how can we make it a little more exciting, add this third, we got offense, defense. We do have special teams, but it's all just punts. And they can be some exciting plays. I was able to score on a punt return that we threw across the other side, and I know their teams are getting really creative with it. So I think the idea between him and whether some coaches are is kind of more of a equality with tackle as far as what all they can do, bringing the excitement there to games. So again, he really does a good job of outlining a full page, and I can send this to you guys separately if you want, but just something for consideration.
Coach,
yeah.
If you don't mind, can you send that to this committee so we could,
Yeah.
in an email format that you mentioned, so we can have further discussion on it? I think the other piece for me to take back to when I go to the committee meetings is to get an idea of, I know Florida and Georgia, correct, are the two that are doing that, but kind of get some feedback from other states as well. And
Yeah.
who's also maybe considering that? What are some, probably pros and cons and things like that?
I'm happy to share everything I've got. So, and this is just me basically taking all these emails from different coaches. So some of this I'm in full agreement with. Some of them I'm just I want to be able to have their voices be heard.
Sure.
Equipment and player safety. So is the next point that a lot of people are really, really strong on. Flag belts. Last year when we made the decision to go to triple threats, and we decided to keep them on and make it our only. Last year you had the option if both schools agreed, but this year it's only that. I was told that it was because there was a study done that the popper style flag belts led to more finger injuries than the triple threats. I haven't seen that report. I'm not sure. I'm not doubting it, but at the same time, 6 of the 11 coaches I talked to brought this up, that they saw so many finger injuries this year because of the triple threats. One of the main things that they don't like about them. 2, if we're going to align with college, now the difference between our high school game to college is not as stark as what I mentioned earlier about the NFL flag to this one, but still the idea is a feeder program into college and giving girls, is the goal to keep aligning as close to college as possible, and colleges use poppers. I think it's more strategic, and I honestly, the amount of times I've seen a girl run and their flags just fall off drives me batty. Now we all know there's a rule in place for that it's just treated as a 2-hand touch, but there was so many inverted whistles last year. We're all human, it's error. That just doesn't happen with poppers. Sure. But yeah, so lots of reports of injuries this year. I myself had 3 separate ones, one that kept the girl out for over half the season on the triple threats. Another thing that they're talking about is, we talked earlier about how they have almost like a third flag, and some of the uniforms are so big that it's basically covering the belt at that point. the excess uniform is going over the triple threat. You have to pull the whole entire flag out. Again, not an issue with poppers. So I realize that more than likely nothing's going to change going into next year, but this is the voice of the coaches that, and again, keep it with a grain of salt. This is 6 out of 11 coaches out of 74.
Right.
Maybe the other ones that didn't were like, oh, no, we love triple threats. We swear by triple threats. Also, just money wise, after a season and a half, I can't even use the triple threats that I've been using because they're all basically, if I had a seamstress that could resew them, again, you don't have that trouble with poppers.
Sure.
But they are just some of these flag belts, the actual flags themselves, and that are just completely ripped to shred from constant being ripped off.
What do they use in college? I don't know.
It's poppers.
Poppers, yeah.
It's poppers.
Well, and didn't we, I mean, remind me, like, when we did the pilot, when my teams did.
It was
the
poppers.
We did poppers.
Yes.
And then we changed to the triple threat.
And then
we
the-
were thinking, oh my
Yeah.
God, we just got all these poppers.
Well, so
now
even
we're
with the
gonna buy-
Broncos, to help all the new schools that weren't on the pilot, they sent out all these kits.
Yeah,
And it was USA Football sending poppers.
yeah. That's
So a
what I
lot of
thought.
us were using poppers. As an NFL flag coach, that's all I've ever known.
Right.
To me, triple threats is what you use in elementary school for the little kids because you want to be able to put them on and off without adjusting them. So yeah, I was very, very surprised and I'll be honest, disappointed, but I'm going to do what the greater good wants. But I just, yeah, I consider the triple threats to be elementary. And so if we're going to be a real sport, if we're going to be considered a real sport, I think to align with college, to align with the World Games, Team USA, Team Mexico, Deanna Flores, and eventually the Olympics, it's all poppers. Now, if the need for a third flag is it, poppers are traditionally 2, 1 on each hip, but you can add a third popper on the back, and they do sell triple flag poppers. So that shouldn't be an issue, but I think for all those reasons, that's why we would push towards that. But again, I'd be interested in sending out a survey to the greater flag community and be like, hey, this is a proposal on the thing. How do you guys feel about it? You might have, I think that you'll have some that are like, oh no, poppers are terrible. And I think you'll have some that's like, well, all we knew is triple threats.
Yeah.
Like last year, I was trying to start a little bit of a campaign and most people were like, oh no, we already have these triple threats, so we don't want to even change. But it wasn't we know that poppers are better or vice versa. So
Is there a major price difference between the two?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Because I know from my NFL flag league, I get 10 flag belts at $10 a piece. So, or that's not true. That's not true. I think they're $10 a belt. So yeah, 100 for like 10.
Oh, that's a-
So, and triple threats can be anywhere from 15 up to 30.
Okay.
So I think it would actually be cheaper in the long run. And I think again, the durability
Sure.
would keep them. I mean, I definitely have to replace all my flags, not just because I bought some new flags that were out of, these really cool Mountain View flags they're not being able to use. So I give them to our unified. It's all good. So
I think the biggest piece for the popper would be add the third on the back.
as a third,
Because
you
the
don't want
biggest
that.
complaint that I saw with the poppers is that it's an advantageous to offense. Because there's nothing on the back. So if you can add the third popper to the back, then I would be on board. I was a component of the triple threat.
I think that's a good compromise. I think that's a good compromise. I think there's something to be said, which same thing on the hips. Girls fall in the back and you got that thing jutting out of the back. That might be an area, but I mean, that's the same with the hips at that point. So
Well, don't the poppers, like sometimes you see them in the NFL, the little kids leagues, like they wear them and then you have to like pull up and down versus like just,
Yeah,
so-
you have to hang them a certain way.
if
I thought
they're,
it was a.
if they're worn right,
Like, yeah,
if they're-
I thought the reason we changed it in the first place was around that, because it was like not consistent enough. Or, I don't remember.
I don't know, I've just
Because
seen
we started
kids
with
wearing them and you're
poppers,
like,
then we
how do
went
you
to
pull
that,
that? Like,
I've
Oh,
seen
that's-
NFL
that's the-
flag and USA football. And the idea is that you have the part that's actually physically on the belt.
Mhm.
And then this part is jutting out away from the body
Right,
so that the flag that connects in the socket is hanging out away from the body. There should be a couple inches from the flag
Mhm.
to the actual body.
but if a kid puts that belt on upside down and then those little
they're
things
just
are
like-
hanging,
That,
you know what I mean?
but this is high school level. This is the coaches teaching them,
Yeah.
this is how you wear them.
Yeah.
And the refs going uniform check,
Yeah,
But isn't it an NFHS rule that it's triple threat?
That part I don't know. So if we're aligning with just NFHS, which I know that was a big push, then it might be a moot point.
Because USA flag and the NFL used the poppers, but I thought we had to go to be
Yeah.
an HS state.
Again, if that's it, then that's it. But I was just told last year that the decision was made that a report was given that the poppers caused more finger injuries than the.
That's the first time hearing.
The eye test that I know that we saw with the poppers was, we felt like, from an official standpoint, watching, was that there was more contact trying to get the popper than it was with the flag.
Yeah,
So
gotcha.
again, if you're out there reaching and grabbing it, trying to get that popper, felt like there was more just contact. Maybe
Gotcha.
not malicious, right?
Yeah, sure.
But you know, you just get into that banging.
Little Wolverining,
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to
yeah.
dig into the flags.
Yeah. Again, that's a comment, so.
But that was one that they wanted me to bring. There was a coach that brought up the idea of advocating for headgear. CHSAA should advocate for or explore the adoption of protective headbands, soft headgear to help reduce head to ground injuries. I know Jim, I can't think of his last name, with Game Breaker out of Kansas City, has been emailing me all year about everybody getting these Guardian, have you guys seen them, the headbands basically around that's supposed to help reduce concussions. So that's a contact if that's somebody you want a presentation from more about those. I mean, obviously you always want to take care of kids. You want to take care of, I just don't see a lot of flag is meant to be a non-contact sport. And I know obviously in any non-contact sport, there's still contact.
Just like basketball.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Or soccer, oh my gosh.
right.
Like, I mean,
Yes, sir.
So the flag, I'm just looking at the adoptions. So the adoptions in the federation book is the states determine the flag used and the flag measurements.
Cool.
Again, meeting them.
And another thing to that point, measurements, I've never seen different size popper flags. It's pretty much one standard. So, and they could be solid color and they can be all that good stuff. Field marking is another huge ask. I'm so sorry I took this verbatim. I should have cleaned this up a little bit. Imaginary sidelines on fields with lacrosse gaps are a joke and can cause unnecessary confusion. The idea is that it requires schools to paint the sidelines, lacrosse gaps, a contrasting solid color for all flag football games to clearly delineate the field of play. So,
In favor.
I agree. I've seen it all from fields.
You use dashes.
Dashes, be same color, but dashes, yeah.
That's better than
Yeah.
10 yards of nothing.
I know in my fields, yeah, I don't. And there's days where I have help that I'm like, cause I put, I go out at the 20, the 40, which of course is the 30 and the 50 and the 30. I had my field guy go out, measure 5.5 yards in from the sideline. I think he's pretty much right. Could be wrong. Could be give or take a half an inch or half a yard. And he's got 2 blue dots, and that's where I go put my tall orange cone for midfield, my 2 tall yellow cones. And then between them, maybe I have help that puts the little teeny tiny cones all the way across. So I think it's a great idea. I would definitely be in favor of that. I've been to some schools where I'm like, oh, this is so nice. I mean, even so, I'm in Mountain View, but we play a couple district games where we go to Max Mar and Berthoud, or we go to Thompson Valley, Ray Pass Stadium, and it's so nice. I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's a line there. And I don't have to wonder how many steps is.
If it's blue for lacrosse.
Yeah.
Even if it was pink, it's still a solid color.
Yeah.
Dashes, again, I could live with it,
Yeah.
right?
Something.
But it wouldn't screw up the lacrosse field because they would still know that alternate color is their entrance.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so that was the third one, and the final one I had, competition structure, equity, and standards. Coaches request equitable treatment, better competition stratification. Okay, I did feed this through Gemini a little bit. That's a little too much. School size disparity. Small schools play opponents with 5 to 15 times their student population. That came from Coach Moore out of Colorado Springs Christian. Expedite the move towards a multi-classification system. He wants to see 3A added if possible. And I'm sure that's already probably a goal. I don't know if it's there this year or the next year, but something to be working to ensure equitable competition based on school size. Ranking system flaw. So this one, I'm not as familiar with this all that well, but it says Max Preps penalizes 5A teams for playing well-ranked 4A teams, incentivizing avoidance of good competition. That came from Greg Johnson. Rethink ranking logic, adjust the ranking system criteria to properly value wins against high-performing teams regardless of classification. So, and again, I'm not as familiar with all that, so I don't even know what the answer to that would be working with Max Preps.
I
But
think CHSAA adopted the new ranking system, right?
So it's just max prep
It is
Max Preps.
for every
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah.
So we don't,
versus the other things that were included.
correct.
So postseason experience, and before I read this, I'll say, so I obviously did both years. Last year where it did go into November, 2 games the first weekend, 2 games the second weekend. This year, it was nice. I thought there was something special about having just the state championships on its own day. Pushing it back earlier, obviously, I wasn't as big of a fan of that because it didn't give us as much time from our last game to when the playoffs started. However, when you said that about it not being on the same weekend as cross country, that makes it worth it to me. So so many parents. I did have last year a parent that had to be split between, my girls in flag football state championship, my boys in cross country state championship. So totally about that. The only thing I could think of would be a sense of concern is the Wednesday night game. It's one more days where we're getting the kids out of school early and late night. I think I got home about 1 o'clock that night, something like that. That's probably a little over dramatic, but that's kind of the only negative to that. And I'm not sure what the answer is. I did have Barry Clark, who I believe is with Air Academy. He said the current 12-hour playoff day is overly long and taxing. Now, keep in mind, that's just driving a lot. He said between driving there, between the day and driving back, it was 12 hours from start to finish.
Yeah.
I had a long conversation with him.
I imagine.
Okay.
I imagine. So I don't know what the answer to that is because I've heard like track meets, not even like state championships and playoffs, just track meets that people are there for all day. I kind of thought that was just kind of the expectation. So, but I did want to express his concerns about that. He wants to see, and this is kind of one of those other, let's adopt it where we're getting closer to what they have in tackle. Adopt a bracket hosting model where the top 4 seeds host their portion of the brackets. And he wrote it a lot more elegantly in his regular email, just the idea that, the teams and their communities deserve to host a home playoff game. Now, Mountain View, I love Mountain View dearly, but their field is not meant to be a flag football field. It's a soccer field. And so for me to go to the places that we played at, the NAC and Trailblazer Stadium, that was a big deal. I was like, this is incredible. Every time I go to Five Star Stadium, I'm like, wow, this is incredible. Am I in Notre Dame or what? So I loved it, but at the same time, to be able to host a home game, that's pretty cool. So
I think if they hosted, they would have to host at like the district stadium, not at their school.
that would be smart. Yeah. So we'd be at one of the other 2 schools. He said, adopt a bracket hosting model where the top 4 seeds host their portion of the bracket and do a 3-game jamboree format. So it would be multiple locations. So that I think would be a nightmare for you. I mean, you're already at multiple locations. It's just they're a lot closer. So, somebody's out, we can run somebody over 15 minutes as opposed to, somebody's out in Loveland versus Colorado Springs. So
There's dynamics.
equity and standards. So this is more on coaches demand the same production standards and promotion as the boys. I would want to look more into that email and see exactly what he's talking about, but he says commit to full equity. CHSAA must commit to matching the production, promotion, and administrative standards of other similarly sized CHSAA sanctioned sports. I really do want to go into that email more. I'm sorry I almost read that because I know there was more to that than that. Because again, from my point of view, I have loved everything you guys have done. And I know at this point I'm almost sounding like a kiss up, but this is me so excited that this is even a thing. I went to Florida in 2017 with an all boys team, and I came away seeing all girls teams. I'm like, this is a thing. This is amazing. If I ever had a little girl on my team, it was 1, maybe 2. And now there's full teams of it. It was amazing, incredible. And that's when I started talking with Bobby and the Broncos and how do we bring this to Colorado? So I'm just still in, the dating phase of this, everything's wonderful and amazing. So, but I think for the long run, I think that he probably has some valid points.
Do you know, Coach, did he give, or did they give specifics in terms of kind of either examples or
Let me-
what they were hoping for?
Let me look at that email really quick. I apologize, guys. I should have been
That's
more
okay.
prepared. Fight the good fight, same production standards, promotion as other boys, at least others sport our size. Need 4 officials on all varsity teams, and in flag and all sports, we need clarity on why and how the private schools can recruit and offer financial incentives. Is that a thing?
That's a whole different thing. Not a thing, but also a whole different thing. Whole
Okay.
different conversation.
Okay. Let me see if I got the other one. Yeah, I should have wrote back to him and been like, so what exactly do you think is not well? And I mean, all I hear is growth. So we talked about 3,600 people last year to 800 people this year, 18% growth in refs. So I see growth going. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I will follow up on that. I'll make a point of following that up and I'll email the committee and
Okay.
like, this is a specific example.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. This one I love. This is one of the last ones I got actually from Coach Olivia Legacy. Athlete recognition and short season. Lack of high profile recognition for top athletes and a desire to extend play. What she wants to see, and I completely agree with this, especially as I'm starting to get people from colleges, hey, how can we see your girls? How can we see your girls? She'd love to establish an all-star or senior bowl, organize and promote a high profile end of season senior bowl or all conference game to recognize top players and attract college scouts. So something just at the end of the season, give our seniors one last chance to play and be able to go to colleges and be like, this is the weekend you want to be in Colorado.
And I know for some of our sports that we have, that's usually on the coaches association to organize that. And I know we have that as a discussion item, so we can go
Fantastic.
back to that idea.
Fantastic.
Great point. Field hockey, for example, is one that their coaches, they do that after their season.
Okay.
Or after the championship, and the coaches all organize it and they vote and all that good stuff. So
And I also understand and realize that it's like you guys said, we've been lucky the last 2 years with weather, but anything that goes further into November, it's a crapshoot with Colorado. So organize something like that and then it snows out. So game management, the loss of
Have it at the Broncos. Guaranteed.
would absolutely love that. That would be incredible.
something we can bring up.
But that would have to be after January.
And I get.
That would have to be in February. So March
There's
brings
some challenges around that, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, if we could do is that the Broncos could work with us where it is planned on an away weekend or whatever for the Broncos, but then have Dove Valley as the backup. So, okay, bad weather, we're at Dove Valley and you still get some condensed version of that, Love to see that. Game management. Cody Stauffer out of Arapahoe said that the loss of one timeout has hurt strategic management. Was there a reason for losing the extra timeout, or was it just to make the games not elongate? Because I mean, they're 60-second timeout, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, that was a committee thing from the Fed that they came back with on the change. I will say for us, I think it's a good thing.
Okay.
Because of the extension of a game.
Okay.
Right? So you think about, at this point, 4+ minutes, 2 in each half, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and the additional time that just kind of creeps into that.
Gotcha.
Especially in the last 2 minutes, because that's when you should be using them.
Yeah.
So then the last 2 minutes becomes forever.
I think the idea is that you're right, it should do that. But, okay, so for just a small example, we had a sophomore quarterback this year. The senior that we thought was coming up didn't work out, sophomore. And she did great. All props to her. But she was having real struggles 3 plays in a row at the beginning of the second half. And we had to burn a timeout to be able to talk to her. So now we don't have that for those last 2 minutes, which I mean, stuff like that happens all over the place, but so.
I get it. So whatever the Fed.
Yeah.
Bottom line, I'd love the two, but if the Fed comes back and says three, well, that's what we're doing. I am 100% a proponent and will not ever deviate from this, but one for the entire overtime. Yes, because otherwise, if there's one for every period.
No, oh, no. No, yeah, especially the way we do overtime, where it's
Yeah.
not actually full drives, it's just, yeah. No,
So
absolutely.
Because that's that's.
No, I completely agree with
that's a
that.
changer There.
So,
If they do for regulation and change it back to three, that's what it is. I'm not necessarily in favor of it, but.
so that was pretty much what I had, except for this last thing again about private school recruiting, and please provide immediate and specific clarity on the rules regarding private school recruitment, financial incentives as they apply to girls flag football. So I will let you handle that in your time or whatever you want to do with that. But that's really what I've got from the community as it is. You know, I definitely wish I would have got more responses, but very appreciative of the 11 coaches that did come out, and I hope I represented them well. So.
Thank you. Thanks.
Mhm.
Appreciate that.
You guys need to take a 2-minute break or you want to just keep going?
Keep it going.
Good.
One just quick pause. Any of our folks online, anything you want to add to any of the discussion items so far that we've had, whether updates from Greg, Coach, or myself?
Nope, I'm good. You guys are doing a great job.
All right, thanks.
Okay, so do you want to move into discussion items, new teams, league placement, alignment?
Yeah.
What's new on that then?
So this was an item on the agenda, just from a discussion item standpoint, in terms of if we've heard anything from new teams, obviously, you know, league placement, alignment, those sorts of things. But I'm only aware of 2 new teams I'm contacted about. So Harrison District 2 and then Lewis Palmer are the 2 that I've heard directly from. But is anybody in this room, have we heard of any other additional teams that we need to be aware of?
I don't know where it's at and I hope I'm not taking out a turn, but I know Berthoud in our district has really made a push. They've got a small group of parents and students that are pushing to have their own team.
Okay.
So I think they'll be in consideration, but I think that's still internal where they're discussing that's viable or not.
So when are we talking like league placement for next cycle?
Will be for
Like,
next cycle.
So is it too late to send another quick survey to see who's gonna have a team?
I think, I don't think it's too late.
When do we have to send the leagues out?
Well, for flag, it's springtime, when we do our LCs for flag football. I mean, I think it would be beneficial for us to send out, I mean, even, you know, end of this week, early next week before folks go on holiday break, so that we can get an idea. And I know that will somewhat change.
Yeah.
But at least if we can kind of get it out there and start hearing back, have a good idea, I think that would be helpful.
I think just making sure we give a deadline, because what
Yeah.
happened was we had a team added like in
Yeah,
August. I
That's what I'm
think,
worried about, like, I
July,
feel
and it created some really significant scheduling challenges.
right,
And so we're all for like teams adding, but there's got to be a deadline that makes sense for.
It's
Yeah.
currently May 1st, right?
I feel like,
Yeah.
So I think,
Push that back a little bit.
yeah,
you mean earlier?
earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say
Push it up,
earlier
yeah.
for sure. And I think that we can just say, you need to do the survey and this is how we're determining leagues.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because there's no way, we just don't know.
I mean, from my perspective, if there's gonna be another team at Berthoud, and if the greater Fort Collins adds, Greeley adds, Pueblo adds, I don't have officials up there, right?
Yeah.
I have a handful, right? And if they're gonna add 2 teams, 3 teams, 8 teams, I'm gonna recruit heavily.
Yeah.
I have a plan, but I don't need to recruit anyone if there's no games for them.
That was the other one I heard, that Fort Collins, because they went as just a school district, PSD, they had 60 girls day one. So I think they're talking about splitting that into two of them.
Surprised either, yeah.
Yeah, Fort Collins and maybe Fossil Creek or something like
Yeah,
that.
right.
So would it be fair to send a survey like now or first thing in January and say, you need to let us know by end of January, or whatever the deadline, and then we can do the league placements
Who were the two you said, Lewis
based on
Palmer?
that.
So Lewis Palmer and Harrison District 2, so that'll be.
Unless is there something outlined that schools have to like notify you?
They're supposed to.
But I don't know if that's happening with flag as much.
By Ryan or something.
So they're
like that.
supposed to notify CHSAA office, so
Okay,
Ryan for one, and then whoever the commissioner is for that sport is who does.
That's crazy, only two schools.
and that deadline was May 1st, so.
Is there a threshold,
gotta
of,
be
like,
more.
when you have a certain number of kids try out, that then you have to break off into the district team?
I'll check on that answer for
Okay.
you, Bryn. I don't know if there is a threshold.
I don't think it's that. I think people, especially up north, we're terrible up north about flag football of all kinds. Like we're behind everybody. You heard that's another Colorado Springs school, which is gonna bring them up to what, 12, 13, 14, 15, 20 in that area. I mean, my whole story last year was we were the only school north of Thornton. I think that's why I had 7 different schools at my school. This year I had 9 different schools at my team.
Well, and
Right.
here's the unfortunate reality too. We're in declining enrollment districts across the state. Budgets are being cut. Money is not there to add sports left and right. So that is the reality that we are currently living in as well. So
Well, and
whether you want to or not.
Right.
So,
Right.
well, so our league is putting together a proposal for a bylaw proposal for legislative council that if you are a district team, you include both of the schools' enrollments. So like Lewis Palmer, Harrison, right? I think Lewis Palmer is doing a district team, was my understanding, so they'd be pulling from Palmer Ridge and Lewis Palmer.
That's correct.
And so therefore, should be a 5A team and not playing the Colorado Springs Christian of 300 kids in their school, right? So I don't know if our proposal will pass, because that really affects lacrosse schools and some other sports as well. So I don't know if that'll pass, but if it does, that changes things from a district perspective of who's 4A, who's 5A and flag.
Well, I just worry if they're big, huge teams that they're having to cut kids,
Right.
then we're not growing the sport because we're
Correct.
turning kids away.
At this point, he's got 60 out.
Yeah.
They didn't probably have 60 on their roster.
They did. They went 3 levels right away.
Okay.
So they did,
Fair enough.
me too. I told girls like, when's tryouts? I'm like, I'm not doing tryouts. I'm
We're gonna
growing this
keep
sport.
everybody- Yeah.
We
that's
did,
what I
we
just-
added a varsity, a JV and a C team. So there's room, but I mean, it took me 9 schools to get to 34 girls.
Yeah.
Where Fort Collins in their first year, they got 60 right away, and they did, but he also said, they were on the team, I didn't cut them. But what kind of experience is that if you're a 14-person
Right.
team and you're one of girl 19 and 20 on the C team, so.
but you can also really quickly kill a program too when you split it up with your schools too, because that 60 kids could be 40 from Pooter High School. And then you say, hey, we're gonna add one over here at Fossil Ridge and. boom,
Which for them, I think it makes sense
You know.
because of how much you have. For me, that's, I think, unfortunately, is what's gonna happen to my team.
Yeah.
Is if Bertha does get their team. Again,
Yeah.
Mr. Flag Football Girls Ambassador, let's put one in every single school. But it took me 9 schools to get to 34.
The other,
Yeah.
the
And I
other,
just say that because we have several district
other
programs.
Yeah, and I don't understand. I just
Right.
want to try to grow. That's
Yeah.
it.
but
Yeah.
over the hill, right? So Stinking team last year, right? Made the playoffs,
Love that. yeah.
right? And I was up there for day one to train the officials, and it was like their first practice. And I thought, no way in hell would they get it together. And then I was back mid-season and for the playoff game, it's night and day, right? So kudos to them, right?
Yeah.
But the other question is, who else on the western slope will?
Yeah, it has
or
come up in our Western Slope meeting. Steamboat was saying that it's been really positive and encouraging other schools to form a team so that they have some competition and don't have to travel to the Front Range all the time. So I don't have anyone specific to let you know is planning to add a team, but there is conversation around it. And so once we set a date that you need to declare if you're gonna have a team or not by, I'll take that back to the Western Slope meeting and just put it out there and say, hey, if anyone's gonna move on this, please let us know or let CHSAA know by the date that you set.
That'd be great.
That's great.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
same thing, officials over there, you gotta find.
Their playoff loss happened right before my, I think, second game or whatever. And I was able to seek that coach out. I'm sorry, I don't remember her name. And I just thanked her for what she was doing to,
Oh,
promote on that side of the state. And same thing I heard, just nothing but positivity. And the travel obviously is hard, but they knew that going in. And I'd love to schedule a game with them. I'm gonna tell my girls, go get some like Airbnbs for the weekend and let's spend a weekend in Steamboat. So. Yeah, I love it. I support it and hopefully they can get more going on.
I will say I pulled up the clock page on our website for the CHSAA teams classifications for 26-28 year. This is preliminary, so it could change, but some new teams that are on this list right now are Fort Lupton, Highland, Holy Family, Monument Academy, Northridge, Sierra, Vanguard Classical East. Castleview, I think, was in a co-op with Douglas County. It looks like they might try to have their own team. And that's all I have.
And what is that? That's just people kind of dipping their toe in the water?
That's them
They
declaring
declared
to
they had a
clock
team,
that they had a
so-
team.
Can
So,
you repeat those?
Yes, Fort Lupton, Highland, Holy Family, Monument Academy, Northridge, Sierra, Vanguard Classical East, and Castleview.
And Sierra is the Harrison district team.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
What was that last one? Sorry, Clap.
Castleview.
So Northridge, that's Greeley. So we have another
Yes.
one up north.
so are we going to stick with that or are we gonna put something out?
We're gonna put something out still.
Okay,
Yep.
so then the deadline. My coaches are gonna wanna know when they are gonna know the league, so what deadline should we do? Do you feel comfortable with? And then we can make the leagues after that.
Try and fit into leagues.
What'd you say?
There's a lot of schools that try and fit into leagues.
I know, that's, so like, we need to figure out who's actually adding.
I'm surprised there's only 10.
Me too.
I would expect.
I would probably, yeah. So from a deadline standpoint, I think reasonable would be,
End of February.
yeah, I mean, I would hate to see it.
Yeah.
I think it's reasonable, but end of February. That's my
End of
thought. Do we have
February?
any objections to that? We go with end of February?
Yeah, and then we'll make leagues
And I-
in March and.
So sorry, I'm struggling with this. What was the distinction between, you mentioned originally Lewis Palmer and Harrison District 2 versus these other ones you just listed off?
So the ones that I just listed off are in the CHSAA team classifications underneath clock, so they declared officially that they're going to have a program.
Okay.
Through Ryan's system, and then the other ones that Aaron listed out were just ones that had notified us so far.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
So we got a deadline of end of February for them to respond back to us through the survey, letting us know whether or not they're gonna have a team. Which should give us some, a good amount of time in terms of getting leagues set. And I would anticipate, I would say at least 10 more that would respond saying that they're planning on having a team, so.
Then do we convene again in early March to set those leagues? Or how do those get set?
So the leagues set them, the leagues kind of set their leagues themselves, so we don't dictate from a flag football standpoint, we don't dictate the leagues, the leagues dictate themselves essentially. So if I remember correctly, that schools should be reaching out to whoever the league ambassador is, and essentially asking, requesting permission to join that league.
I know we did dictate the leagues to start this off, so we could have some sort of system going, but now we're gonna give that power back to the leagues to be able to.
So which league would you go off of? Would you go off the flag football league you were in before or the league you're in for everything else?
So for an example, that's a great
Or
question.
your football league, yeah.
So
Okay.
I think so, like, let's take the Harrison D2.
So Harrison's in the Colorado Springs Metro League South. Sierra, who's hosting the team, is in the Southern Colorado League.
So I would go off of, so they would be, so let's say for example, so they would be in the Southern Colorado League, would be the So
So
that,
that league's gonna be, if you look at it though, it'll be 15, 16 teams.
so the other question would be, do we now split the, you know what I mean?
Well, that's where I think, I know that we split it before, we don't want to, I think, or said it before, I think this committee could come together in early March and potentially set leagues again. Just because of adding 10 teams and then with that Southern Colorado League growing, and yeah, there's only like 2 5A schools in that, right? How do we make this fair, equitable, all that, right? Because I think it's tough to just say,
I would agree with that, because I mean, we had, I think we were, I'm trying to look at our league. We had one team added, but I think we were at 10 or 11 with that one team added. So if we now absorb Holy Family, we're at 12 teams, like, you know,
well, I am for London, maybe.
logistically, yeah, because Holy Family's in our area. I'm just guessing.
And that has
So-
come up too, like the city league, for example, they've inquired about potentially splitting the league too, as well, so.
So maybe if we don't have a league representative committee, maybe we get somebody for that March meeting, a representation from each league, and then we could potentially set leagues again. Is that something we could look at? I mean, you're looking at a league of 15 versus a league of 9. That's a big difference in your option, your non-conference schedule.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
What are the numbers? I mean, I know what we had 75-ish,
74?
74, right? And we, in the year before we had
63.
63, right? And so we did a 4A, 5A, it makes sense, right? You gotta split them somewhere. If you go to 85 or 90, I'm still just stunned that there's only 10. Makes my life easier, but still stunned.
It might-
Same place. I thought we'd have over 100.
I'm feeling less stressed all of a sudden. But where does the numbers come to get to the third division, right? Is 85, is it 90, is it 100? Where, and you know, not solving it today, but how do we decide where those cuts come?
90 sounds right, 30 per. I mean, it wouldn't work out exactly that way, but you know, because
I know.
it's as a school.
We won't necessarily, so the classification split won't be based off of, I guess, equity in numbers, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
right? So we're not looking at, we want this amount of, this number of schools in this classification, and it's going to be, based off of enrollment. And so that's important clarification there, but, I think, and we kind of anticipated this too, I think, Colette, in terms of, obviously, we want the sport to grow, and with that growth, it's going to be the need for additional classification. So we're aware of that. That's obviously what we, I think, like to get to as we're looking at growth. And I think also the other piece from a competition standpoint that, like you mentioned, Coach, in terms of, you've got a school that's maybe 4A that maybe otherwise would be competing in 3A. So I think that's a big piece of that too. So,
So I think once we get the survey, we can look at it. I think maybe everyone in this room would be okay with adding a 3A classification if the need arises. I don't know if there's any legislative council stuff that we would have to go
Yeah.
through to,
Yeah,
before we do
would.
that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe that wouldn't,
So that wouldn't, that,
so,
yeah,
Well, and I
All the
think-
more reason to push the issue to get them signed up.
Yeah.
So we know what we're dealing with.
right.
But I also think if you're gonna do that, we need to look at the league alignment, because to Coach's point, max preps get penalized for playing down a classification. And if we force multi-class leagues, somebody could get bumped down in their ranking of max preps, and
Yeah.
then we're dealing with that upset school.
absolutely. So that would be, once we have the leagues set, that would be, so I would, my initial thought is that would probably be a next year committee proposal in terms of.
Yeah, because like it's
added the
probably too late right
classification.
now to do anything for legislative.
For a 3A.
Yeah,
As
like
my
proposed.
classification.
How many teams?
That's what I'm saying, like it's.
Yeah, because
Like-
we don't know how many, yeah.
So I think we're all on board for maybe putting it on the on the legislative council for next year. To add the classification.
I think that'll give us opportunity to just gather more information in terms of the leagues. And I think also knowing who's going to be joining, not just this year, but in next year's as well. So that'd be good.
Where do we stand with setting leagues? How do you feel, Ann? You've been with this meeting.
I mean, I think that we, like, obviously, the sooner we can figure out who's gonna be
Do you think
And
we
better,
should
I-
add leagues again, or?
I mean, I don't know. I think we should look at the numbers because it doesn't make sense to have huge leagues. But we need to look at the reality of where these teams will fall, and who actually ends up officially committing to a team, because honestly, I feel like there's gonna be more than this list, so I think that that's a good start. I have a feeling there's gonna be more added, and so then we're kind of looking at it again. So I would wanna wait and just see where we're at, and then, I think obviously it's a good time to reset leagues if we need to, it's a new cycle. So I mean, we should do that, if needed, I'm fine with
How
redoing the
much will
leagues.
I think it's the CHSAA school classification, and like private schools are being charged 1.5 now, for, and things like that. How, I don't know, but how will that change many or some or a lot of school classifications?
We'll have an idea, we will know
Yeah.
who's in that. So when we get together again to talk through leagues and things like that, we'll already know who's, unless there's obviously some folks that can put it before some appeals, but we should have a good idea of who's where, in terms of classification for that.
And I think as Aaron gets the information, he can kind of like look at the leagues, set like maybe a baseline, and we can come together and talk to see if things don't make sense, kind of like we did last time. Like, we didn't come in like fighting to see who's gonna be in what league. Aaron can like kind of put it together as an objective third party and say, hey, this kind of makes sense for everybody. What do you guys think? And then if we need to make like last minute switches or something, then I would be comfortable doing that. I don't really want to come in with a blank slate and then try to figure out every league again.
It's a great point. I think we've got from what we have right now, I think we kind of use that as our baseline and then build based off of what makes sense, right?
Yeah.
From a classification standpoint, but then also from a geographic standpoint. So
Yeah.
I think that's what makes most sense.
Would it be better to have the date to commit be like mid-February with the email going out that like, hey, we got to kind of push this, we're growing, we're facing this huge growth. And with this growth is going to come a possible realignment with some leagues that will be discussed in early March.
So let me make sure I'm understanding correctly. So which is your preference to move up the date, or is it for moving up the date?
The date for new teams to add,
Okay.
to commit by mid-February. That way we can plan a meeting. I say I'm not sure if I'm back or not, but anyways, have the meeting for the league alignment in early March to try to give it as much time for all that to be.
I mean, I won't speak for the group, and I want to hear everybody's feedback, but I'm not opposed to moving it up, to moving that deadline up, because then it does give a little bit of extra time, because we'll get some folks that maybe miss the deadline or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to moving it up, but I'd love to hear the thoughts from the committee on, do we want to shoot for mid-February, and then what do we think?
Could almost do a grace period. I'm sorry.
I'm for, because of that, right? There's always the Johnny come lately.
Yeah.
So no matter, and is that 2 or 3 or 5 Johnny come lately,
Yeah.
right? So if you do the 15th of February, and they do come late, and it's still March 1st, and you're still doing your thing, and then it's kind of set, right? I think that buffer in general, just how it happens in life, it's not a your thing, it just happens. I like it for me, because the sooner I know,
For you.
the targeted areas of recruiting starts.
So it's an unannounced grace period. It's, hey, you have to commit by the 15th,
Yeah.
but those people, the Johnny come latelys that come, as long as it's done by the meeting of the realigning the leagues,
Yeah.
we'll have grace. Once the leagues are realigned, we'll see in 2027. We're excited to have you guys on board. Start making your plans.
Here's the reality. I mean, those of us that have district stadiums, we're doing stadium schedules in February.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we're not gonna be able to do this with football games and everything until I have everything ready to go.
I know.
So
Like, I was thinking like January, but I know that I'm always like, let's just do it right now, so I get a little.
I'd say,
Which is
But-
not, yeah.
Well, the only reason I didn't say January is there's the meeting in January, right?
Yeah.
So there's gonna be a lot more information after that. So you go to that, get the information out. Okay, hey, last call by the 15th, but we'll let you in by the 30th or the 28th or whatever. So
What would be from an administrative standpoint, what would be any, I guess, barriers that would maybe not allow a school or make it more difficult to know whether or not they are gonna have a team by February. So if we give them the mid-February, is there anything that maybe I'm not thinking of, or we're not thinking of, that may be a barrier, or is that? It seems.
I
to be
mean,
pretty
February,
obvious.
March is your budget planning time, so if you
Yeah.
don't know by then,
Right.
then it's not happening most
Yeah.
likely. But I mean, some districts' budgets aren't due till spring break time, so that's more March timeframe, but
But it's a fall sport, so if they're gonna be ordering uniforms.
Right.
They're,
They should order.
like, they're gonna have to know.
exactly.
They probably already know. So like this list, I think there'll be more, but like, I could be wrong. Maybe that's, it, but they'll know.
Sure.
It'll be to their benefit to put this time constraint on.
Yeah.
Because I know in May, once May 1st hits and I can have contact with 8th graders, I do a 2-hour open practice on Monday nights. Be like, hey, you want to come and start learning what flag football is? Once it's June, I'm already into off season 4 or 5 days a week. So that gives them time to hire their coach and set up everything like that. The uniforms was mentioned, that's always a hassle. So yeah, it's kind of self-imposed,
Yeah.
get it off your
We
butt and
need to
do
know our
something.
district stadium schedules.
Yeah.
And
And with it being a news cycle, everybody's already on that for next year, so
Yes.
like things are already getting scheduled, so if
And
we push it
buses.
past March, we're gonna be,
yeah,
yeah.
and I mean like March 1st.
Yeah.
Probably do like an early March meeting. Our transportation for fall is due right around then. And
Sounds like next week.
I mean,
I mean, we don't have to do a survey. We could just go with this list. I think that maybe if we did a survey, it might add more, but like we could just say, this is the list that has said that is declared, and this is where our leagues are.
Yeah.
And maybe you could send a last call and say, here's the leagues, or here's the teams that have started. If you are actually adding a team, you need to let me know by January 5th. I don't know, I'm just moving it up, every time I talk, I'm like, think earlier. It's like, things happen, and we gotta go.
It's supposed to be.
May 1st.
Yeah, so like the deadline, yeah.
Monarch added April 30th last year.
I got you.
It's a great story.
I think there's gonna be a lot more because people think that they have a lot of time.
Yeah, right, and so like, I don't wanna,
Should know by now.
So I think the combination of the lists that we have, in addition to the survey that goes out, the request for, disclosure of their team would be, I think that'll give us the most accurate
Yes.
picture. I do think we will still get teams that are.
Okay, last.
anyone who adds late is in their own league, where they are.
So they have to go to the
Yeah,
website.
it doesn't matter where they are, you're just in their league, and then when we hit,
Last date
you're going to
change,
another.
last date change. Send out the thing now. Here's your interest. You have till the end of January. That way you can go through the holidays. You don't have to decide in December. You have all January to talk to the PR or the B. January 31st is the cutoff date.
And what we can do too is just send a link. Add all the schools for the flag on it, send that link out, say, look at this. If you're having a flag football team, you don't see your name on here, let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know by end of January.
So I'm hearing correctly. Survey goes out right away.
Yep.
Our new deadline is end of January, beginning of January, what do we think?
End of
End of
January.
I
January.
like what, yeah, I like
End
what
of
you said,
January.
like, yeah, I like the official like clock list and saying, fill this out or email, however you guys wanna do that.
No one's gonna take us to send them a survey.
Yeah, maybe just say
Yesterday.
email us.
No, you don't get any
Jen
credit.
has done this with Unified Bowling every year, to ask like how many people, so check with her and see like what communications she sent out, because every year she's asking like, who's adding Unified Bowling and when's the timeline, like, what's her timeline look like for that too? It's a little bit different, but
Yeah,
so,
I mean, we want them all we want everyone to add, but at the same time, we have to plan and we're gonna need to just move forward and have.
A lot of moving parts that aren't just your school.
Yeah. All right,
Makes
so
sense.
should we move on then to the next thing?
Yeah, I think that's good. And then I'll send out follow-up in terms of our committee getting back together in early March, 1st of March,
Great.
essentially to set leagues.
Okay.
That'll be good.
Next thing is regain date for flag football. Who wants to?
this one came from my ADs, so I just got feedback from them that the regain date for flag football was very late. Or they felt it was really late. Any girls that had to regain eligibility had to wait till week 11. causing some schools to lose up to 8, or girls, sorry, to lose up to 8 at the 15 total games. So they had just asked if it could be moved up earlier, similar to softball's week 9 timeframe.
They start, when does that, so are they starting?
I can look at softball and see.
I know that like every other sport was week 11,
Yeah,
so.
so regain.
Softball and flags state lineup. Or is softball state a week earlier?
They're the same, I believe.
It's the same.
Yeah, same weekend.
Yeah, so softball, so in terms of regain dates for fall sports, so boys golf is week 8. Softball is week 9, boys tennis is week 10, cross country is week 10. And then field hockey, flag football, gymnastics, boys soccer, spirit, and volleyball are all week 11.
Yeah, so
then
they
each
had
one is-
asked if it could move up to week 9.
That would be one that would need to be a bylaw change essentially. So we'd have to go through the official report submission, committee vote, and then LC vote, if that's something that they feel strongly about wanting to change.
Those proposals are due tomorrow.
So no.
But I mean, that's for immediate, right, in terms of this upcoming year. Now, if there is a strong want and need to change that, they can always come back with a proposal submission for next year.
Well, somebody's willing to write it though.
But their start date is the same as those other programs you listed, other
But
sports.
their finish date is quicker.
Finish date comes,
Yeah.
Flags does?
or the other ones.
Flags.
Flags.
If it ends the same time as softball.
So why doesn't it align?
So then it should be even earlier.
That doesn't make any
Because
sense.
softball plays 23.
So the number of weeks that a sport plays all those regain dates should be the same, right? If they're starting softball, starting the same time and ending the same time.
Essentially, yeah. But it's not right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that'll be on for the next legislative council if there's a proposal, unless unless you guys want to write it
Right
today
overnight.
and submit it by tomorrow.
I think we need to look at those dates too.
Any more on that, on the regain date?
That's a good point that they bring up, so I'm glad that was.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be in favor of that if it was proposed. Uniform and equipment rules. 6.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked through that,
Yeah.
unless there's anything else we wanted to add to that discussion, but I think the biggest piece was obviously the flags.
Yeah.
The flags, the belts,
Mhm.
which we'll continue to have conversation on, obviously here at our state level, but also from the national level. We get some good feedback, but aside from flag belts, the flags, the shorts, any other uniform equipment, questions, thoughts?
I would just want to make sure that when we say that per the rule book, right? I mean, there is a school that literally right down the middle, dark white. So when they're going this way, I got dark on dark. When they're going this way, I got dark and white, right? And then even sometimes, obviously when you turn, you're like, I don't know who's getting the ball.
But isn't that a
But-
violation of the rule book?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying is we got to just reemphasize per the rule book, right?
Yeah,
And I think, so the other piece, and we'll get to this here in a minute in terms of coaches association, but, I know there's and this is what we can have further conversations with Bobby too, but Coach, the coaches clinic at the beginning of the year,
Mhm.
right, that the Denver Broncos would that be an opportunity to maybe have Greg come and we can kind of maybe, and obviously we'll talk to Bobby with this, but emphasize some of the rules that we need to emphasize. And obviously we can send out communication, but I think having folks in person and being able to talk through that. So, I mean, do you think that
I think that'd be great in that communication, let it be a little bit of an open forum or a survey of what specific roles did you feel were in issues? And then Greg and his team knows that needs to be a bigger point of emphasis on those ones.
When was that?
What was that?
What timeframe is that?
We're talking about during the preseason coaches thing at the Broncos.
August.
Yeah, we have a coaches clinic.
I got you, okay.
Yeah.
So I think potentially adding that to that, and I know we do our beginning of the year coaches meeting, which Colette and I are working on kind of a little, maybe a different format for that, but that could be an opportunity to, Greg, to be able to jump in and just really hit on some of those key points.
Love that.
Do you have a,
I have another one, if
Sure.
that's okay.
okay, yep.
Shirt tucked in rule.
Mhm.
That's new, I believe. With a triple threat, I mean, your kids' shirts are gonna be untucked all the time. I know it's kind of teased that I'm bringing this one up, but with a kid's shirt getting untucked all the time, like the better players are gonna be tucking their shirts in all the time. Like, is that something, sometimes you tuck a shirt in and it folds over because the jersey's too big, then the flag's underneath. Is it something that we could look at taking that out and having it just over the top of the jersey, whether the jersey's tucked in or not, with the triple threat, because that makes it tougher, in my opinion, on kids?
So anecdotally, I'll say even the untucked shirt rolls over because it's not crisp, okay? So you still get that. The other piece is with the untucked shirt, I think you get more holding calls because they grab the shirt instead of the flag. They're trying to grab the flag, but they grab the shirt and then the jersey goes like this, right? And so there's more holding calls because of that. I am a proponent for it to be tucked in,
Okay. I will defer to you.
but there's still state adoptions and, you do what you do, but, and I will say, that I guess the other just ending comment on that, again, that's per the rule.
Right. Yeah,
So,
I saw that.
Great feedback and insight on that, John, and then Greg, thanks for that.
Hoppers helps with that too. You're going for the sides, you're not going for,
The whole belt.
yeah, the back or the front of the belt.
Flag Football Coaches Association.
Yeah, so I'll touch on that and then obviously want to get our thoughts on this, but for I believe the majority of our other sports, we have a coaches association for that specific sport. Obviously, flag football being new, we do not have one. And so it's been great to have Coach here and give his perspective here. But would like to see a coaches association in place for flag football. So wanted to get thoughts from our committee on if that's something we feel like, we should move forward with, and then obviously having Coach here to give his perspective on that too. But obviously great perspectives from our coaches. I think from a rules, implementation to experience for our student athletes, and then really wanting to grow the league or grow the sport of flag football. I think it would be beneficial to everybody if we were able to have a coaches association. So what are thoughts from the committee on that, and then kind of next steps in terms of the coaches association?
It's a good idea.
Okay.
I'm a fan of anything that builds community. I think the more that we know each other, instead of just the stranger across the field that you say hello to at the beginning and maybe hi to at the end, anything just makes the sport and the experience for everyone better. So I'm all about it. Again, I'm really honored to be here today because I love hearing the differences of ideas and being able to kind of come at it from point of view. I always say the best thing I don't know is I don't know everything.
Sure.
And so definitely happy to help in any way I can with that. I think other coaches are on board with that as well.
Okay, great. So I think we can move forward with kind of what that is, establishing that. I think the other piece, obviously, we'd have a coaches association rep join us for our committee meetings to be able to give their report. But I think obviously outside of that, there's a lot more that goes into it. So, yeah. Okay,
Cool.
good.
So I added the possible expansion of flag football season. I got feedback. I think we've kind of touched on this already, but there were just questions on why can't it be 1 week later? And I thought that when we started, we did it based on the postseason logistics of like other sports. Isn't that kind of what we did? Isn't that why we made it 1 week shorter?
Yeah.
So the coaches I talked to were wanting to push it back to match other sports and have like a one more week to get their games in. especially moving from the jamboree style to single games on a day, like one game a day.
What about starting?
That's what I was gonna say. Can you start a week earlier?
I mean, that just, if it was I feel like if it was a winter or spring sport maybe, but starting a week earlier in the summer is not, in my opinion, probably the best move. It would probably be better to just add it to the end. And I just wanted to see what you guys thought about any of that.
I mean, I said earlier when she gave me the reasoning and the reason to bring it back a week was that we weren't at the same time with cross country. I think that makes a lot of sense. Again, so many families being split. I'm not sure. I definitely didn't love not having the 2 weeks, but I think I was spoiled by the first year where we had that between their final game and the first playoff game. But I mean, it still worked out. I'm definitely not gonna say that's the reason we got destroyed by TCA. I don't know.
I think moving back, I mean, we had 4 games in the last week because of reschedules.
Right.
Oh, gotcha.
And so I think having an extra week I mean, we had girls out of class 4 days the last week of the season, right? And so if we could have an extra week in there, it'd be appreciated, but I understand in the cross country.
So, you're right, so two things come to mind. One, I know the first week, and so I know this isn't the end all be all, but Ashley Moore wasn't at our championships 2 years ago because she was at cross country. She was here this time. Do we get more exposure because of that?
Yeah.
It's just a thought. It's not the end all be all, maybe not even that.
No, that's a great point.
But from a scheduling standpoint, I'm just asking, do you just move the problem a week later? So if you don't require X amount of games in the first 3 weeks, and you skip, and you say you only have one game in the first 3 weeks, and you backload your schedule, you're always going to be in that problem, no matter what the end date is. So if you want to move it later, then require more games on the front end, because then you don't end up with 4 games in the last week, because you shouldn't have that many.
It was lightning delays.
I understand why that happens, but still, you ultimately, if you're backloaded, you're gonna run into more issues, and it's gonna cause the 4 games in a row, 4 days in a row.
You just run out of time.
Yes.
So if you have that extra week, you can leave the buffer with your league schedule finishing a week before.
If you do that, right, I mean, so that's the other way, right, is don't schedule in the last week, right? Leave that as the buffer. Well, then that's, a different issue, right?
Right.
Kind of, or a different solution, right?
Yeah.
So,
Is it common practice to not have sports championships on the same weekend?
I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
The only one it conflicts with right now is if we moved it a week later is cross country.
But it conflicted with softball this year, right?
Softball games are earlier in the day, so, but I mean,
That's true.
Like it's,
volleyball
That's true.
championships and boys soccer championships are on the same day, so it's not an uncommon thing.
Yeah, if it's
happens.
avoidable, we try to, but it's,
It is right now with softball, but if we move it a week, then it would only be with cross country. I think.
so there's a conflict either way.
Yeah.
Did your teams do round robins at all? Did you schedule round robins? No?
Did you say that the official overlap is flag football, softball, soccer,
tackle.
and tackle football?
It also.
But not cross country, so
This year,
Probably
softball
not.
and flag football was also the same weekend as state band, so marching
Yeah.
band.
Yeah,
So,
Can always have
That's-
something.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to be a 4-place.
And also just having the championship games in the evening versus, a 6-game event. It was a 2-game event
Mhm.
later in the day. That changed for the championships, for the most part. There's no conflict. It's more about regular season, bad Saturday, right? 3 weeks before that or 4 weeks before that. That's where
you'll
there
gain
are a
some
couple
points
days.
if you put it on a Friday night.
championship.
Tell you that, you'll gain some points in the flag football community if you put it on a Friday night.
But would
Make people
anybody
move
come
football
because
to
they're,
Saturday, you move tackle football to Saturday.
would they ever actually do that?
Well, most,
that would be incredible. Yeah, Friday Night Lights. I was just gonna say, last year, we scheduled three weekends where we basically played two teams. So, and that kind of helped us with our schedule. This year we only did it one time and we actually started later. Our first game was August 23rd, so we definitely could have played on the 16th, which is the first week of school. So, I don't know. I was stuck on the whole not wanting to be a cross country, but you guys are right. It's always going to be something softball this year. So that, I guess that argument goes out the window. So for that case, move it in. You ran a risk going into November with weather, but on November 1st this year, it was like 1,000 degrees. So I guess that's not even an issue anymore.
The year before was pounding with snow, so.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can never tell.
We
Yeah,
can't plan anything around weather.
No.
So. that's
but
what-
I would just encourage other teams to try to schedule at least one, if not two of those, where you get two of your games. I mean, you could do four games over 2 dates. And that way you're not kind of setting up for, okay, well, this day's thunder and this day's thunder. And again, whether you can't control that, so.
So I think it's good feedback. I think it's definitely something for us to continue to look at and discuss and
Yeah.
Would that be something the committee could decide, or would that be a legislative council thing?
So we're looking at just extending it by, so let me back up for a second. Any essentially changes to the schedule, outside of what what NFHS has suggested or put in place, that would need to be committee LC, because that would essentially be, I don't want to say a bylaw change, but it would be going against what NFHS has in place. So,
if we put it in our committee report, which that's approved by LC, is that? Right, if we just put it on our report and then LC votes on it?
How do we do this?
yeah,
I
so
remember what, I don't think it was voted on for swim. I think we did put it in
the,
notes and then and that at legislative council, no one objected to what we said, we decided.
did you all vote on it as a committee though, or did you just? put it
I
as
think we-
notes?
It was a while ago.
So. it
I think we voted, I think no one was opposed to it, so I think we probably voted,
Okay.
but as a committee,
Move back.
we were doing swim.
The change from last year to this year. How did that happen?
Well, and right now, there's a big issue with it, with girls versus boys. But I don't know how it's.
I think the committee just decided that.
Yeah.
Because it was the state
I should
rotation.
ask my book though, see how that went down.
So I'll check on that, if needed. If it is something, that the committee does need to vote on before it goes to LC. So 2 pieces to that the committee could vote and vote via email essentially,
Okay.
included in the notes, and then it would be brought to LC. So,
Can you do that with the regain date as well? Put it in the committee, like if the committee decides, like, why does that need to come from a league to say you know what I mean? Why
That's a
can't
good
that be a committee proposal or?
That's a good point. It
Committee
does
report.
seem like it could be part of a report that is,
To align
It
with,
needs to be consistent with the other sports.
yeah, that's a
Same weeks
brainer.
and finish,
Yeah.
a culminating event.
and these don't seem controversial. I mean, the regain date doesn't seem controversial.
I don't know why anybody would say, no.
Right.
so 2 things that could be potentially added, from a committee standpoint. So ideally, we'd like to have, it go through the official, proposal process, right? So the proposal form is filled out. It's brought to the committee votes whether or not to move it forward, and then it is brought to LC. So that's kind of the preferred, but there have been circumstances where that's not always, possible. And that stands, then, what we would do is, we could either send it out via email, have the committee vote, via email on that, and then we would add it to the notes. And so that could be for this, and then it could be for the, length of the season as well. So,
Okay. Could we, I mean, is everyone here now? I don't know who's still online.
so
Could we do a vote now or just?
yeah, I mean, we could do a vote now. What we would probably still want is just the, some sort of written, explanation, right, in terms of the proposal. So we would want to, because we want to have all the details of that to put in the notes and then to bring to LC. So right now, I think we're missing Josh and I think Josh.
It's still on.
Isn't on, Dawn isn't on.
Okay.
That's about-
Yeah, so we're still missing a few folks.
And just to be clear, we're thinking of adding a week. Right?
It's the end of this
To
term.
align with cross-country and then changing the regain date to align with cross-country. Essentially. that's the
What's
only-
cross-country
Regain date
date?
with
is-
Softball.
Like,
Or,
it's not softball, softball was different.
I thought softball's week 8.
Softball's week 9.
Softball's 9, soccer's 8.
The proposal was, or for my
Oh, for
guys,
week
was
eight.
for week 9
For week 9.
to match softball because they ended the same.
But now we're. changing
If
it
we're,
to
but
end a week
yes, but
later, which
if
is
we
then
actually are
cross-country.
changing it later, then
Yeah.
that won't
So that's
necessarily.
different then, because now softball is a week less.
I don't know if this matters, but that date that we're proposing to move it to, the championship, would be
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yeah, and is there a venue
Yeah.
issue? You guys.
That was my
already-
next, question.
Well, we don't, so, we don't have any, we're not in any long-term contracts for flag football right now.
Okay.
In terms of us being locked in. Now, we would have to see if they are available on those dates, if we were to move it, so. But in terms of us being locked into long-term, we don't have any long-term contracts right now with flag football venues, so. So yeah, we would need to.
That needs to
check
come
on
from a
that.
committee member, because I can write it up right now if you want, and we can vote, and then I can email it to you guys. I think it would depend if we're trying to extend for 1 week, we probably won't change the regain date, or you would want to change it either way. Because
When is the current
So
one?
the-
Sorry.
The current regain date is week 11. Are you, Kylie, you asked for the
What
regain
we've
date?
done the last couple years.
The current one was.
Last
is
year,
week
it
11.
was November
I
2nd
don't
was
know if
that
we would
next
want to
week.
change it.
This year, November 1st was
The
the
championship.
championship, that's like,
Yeah, but you push
Because
it
then
back a week.
softball would be 1 week later than
We
softball.
ended on the 16th.
Just
we ended on the
because-
25th. Oh, I'm talking about the,
Regular
So if we
season.
extend
championship.
Halloween
then
is
the
last
following
Saturday
the
in
regain
twenty
date.
twenty-six.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I know very well because it was my wife's birthday. I had to tell her at the end of the season that we were gonna be in the state championship on our birthday.
Because that does impact it, right?
So, yeah, that's what I mean. It's the final day, whether it's like last year where we played 2-day games or this year where we did 1 game.
If we do
Yep.
if we move it back a week, when is the championship? What other sports, sorry, does that align with? It's
Just
cross country,
cross-country.
and what's cross country's regain date?
Cross countries is the week 10, so the week right.
It's in the middle.
So then we could,
Yeah.
just propose, move it back to week 10.
Yeah, our regain date needs to align with this, whether it stays with softball or it stays with, or it goes to cross country. I think that we need to adjust the regain date no matter what.
Yeah.
It seems like.
But by 1 week then?
Depends.
Yeah.
Well, to align with the other sports that start and have their culminating event on the same dates.
Yeah.
We need it to align, and it doesn't right now. It's off by 2 weeks, I think.
Cross and boys tennis would be if we moved it, right?
If we move the date, if we don't move the date, it needs to align with softball.
So are we prepared to actually want to vote on extending it a week? Or did you guys want to go back and talk and then
I
do
think
an
we need
email
to
vote?
talk. I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this feels a little rushed for
Yeah.
the week thing.
Yeah, and I
Um,
want to make sure
but-
we're not missing some big thing that we're not thinking of right
I agree, but I think we can kind of agree that whatever we decide on for that, we're good with changing the regain date
Yes.
to match. So we will change either way, it'll just either be week 9 or week 10. Or,
I would agree, yeah, with that. I don't know, do we have to vote on that? I don't know.
so,
The regain proposal?
I think the regain date needs to be adjusted no matter what we do.
Okay.
But I don't,
Yeah, whether we stay the same or we move.
yes, it needs to align with the other sports.
I think we can move forward with that vote.
okay.
Yeah, I think we can do that. And then,
We don't know what week that one is yet, though.
say it again.
We don't know what week that would be voting for yet, as we know.
Yeah, to which we move, yeah, so we know this, the extending.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess I guess the,
So this could be two separate votes. Why don't we go back and talk about the extending it? Is everyone comfortable now voting to say we would like the regain date to align with whatever
yeah,
the comparable sport season date is?
yeah, and then we just adjust it
And
based
then we
on.
just adjust it based on what the answer. You guys okay with that? Second that. So all in favor of adjusting the regain date to match the sport, I'm not saying this correctly,
Culminating.
To align with
state
the culminating event.
Thank you.
Start date.
and the length of season.
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, it's online. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 online, so 8 votes for
So-
yes.
So Amy's our only online right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Amy's holding it down for our online folks. Thanks, Amy.
So there's
Appreciate it.
5.
Presented.
There's 5 yeses, is that correct?
Yeah, and that's enough to, yeah, we're good.
Would you be able to send that out then?
Yeah.
And we
If
can respond, we probably have to do it in January. Or you could send it out, and we could talk real quick,
for the
extending.
extending the season, yeah, absolutely. And then, Andy, do you mind, will you just put the exact language for the
Yep.
regain date in an email for me, so that way we can
Yep.
add to the report? I appreciate that.
Yep.
And then I know we had 2 other additional items to discuss, one being the 2 games in one day for playoffs. I know that was something that was brought up, and then the other one being schools bringing their own footballs to playoffs instead of using CHSAA provided balls. So let's talk through 2 games one day first, and then we'll jump to the footballs. So essentially, this is the, for opening weekend, we do second round and quarterfinals all on the same day. So I know some of the feedback we received is that, doubleheaders are tough,
Yeah.
right? Especially if,
Mhm.
like we had, I think it was Air Academy, maybe had the 9 o'clock game and then they had to wait until,
Mhm.
So it was a long day for them. So that's a challenge. I think the year prior, did we do, was championship and semis on the same day? Correct. Okay, so we moved away from that in terms of a doubleheader. From that piece. One thing I will say is, I believe a lot of the kind of what it was kind of modeled after to the jamborees, right? If that's
Mhm.
correct, Coach, those are multi-game
Yeah.
days, right? So kind of the idea was that our teams are kind of already used to playing multiple games in one day. And so that, while taxing, still doable.
Yeah.
But also understand the challenges and difficulties of double headers. So thoughts from our group on 2 games one day, or let me stop for a second. Colette, anything you want to add from the doubleheader piece?
I'll just say there's other CHSAA sports during postseason that does 2 games in one day, so it's not an uncommon practice.
I think the other piece too, in terms of challenges of scheduling of the postseason, right? So that allows us to essentially get those games in. I think the other piece too, I think Coach brought up, having a Wednesday game. So if we don't have that doubleheader, we're gonna have more midweek, early week.
Right.
games.
I think the negatives outweigh the positives, because again, last year we did 2 and 2. And so, yeah, they were both long days, but you knew that was the commitment for the day. I don't have to drive as far as some, but I have to drive more than others being so far up north. So I guess it didn't bother me as much. Coach mentioned driving 3 hours to get there, so that would be hard. I don't know if that's something that his team could look into, a hotel situation the night before or what to look about that. If you break it up like we've done with the second day, the Wednesday and Thursday, Saturday, again, the negative I think is it's just a late night and it's another day where kids are out of school.
Yeah.
So you do that both weekends then, or you don't do it and you try to force it to 3 weekends or whatever it is, then we're in the situation we were where we're running out of time for regular season for makeups and all that good stuff. So, and I didn't like that. I didn't have 2 weeks. You know, I went from 2 to 1. If you don't even have 1 week where it's like, oh no, we're going straight from the end of season to playoffs, then I don't think that's good either. So
Yeah.
I think honestly, what we did this year is probably the best model, but
Good. Other thoughts?
I'd say the only thought for me is if you're gonna go away from it, you might have to do that first round at the higher seed. Just to make it easier. And then so you're not doing 4 different nights at a CHSAA event, and then you guys rent another facility and all that crap, right? So I think if you're gonna go away from it, you're gonna have to look at hosting a higher seed.
So essentially, John, so if we ever did make that shift to the top 4 seeds hosting, right? So essentially they would host a doubleheader almost instead of.
Or you could just do the first round, the higher seed hosts,
Okay.
everybody, the top, what was it 8 then? Top 8 just host the first round.
round 2, that's rounds 2 and 3, because already round 1 is that.
Higher seeds host, higher seeds host round 1 and then.
And round 2, I guess. then.
Cause we have 4 games that are like the play-in games.
Yeah, that's why I'm considering round 1. We're talking about the first weekend, which is currently round 2 and round 3. So, and that was one of the things, obviously, that some coaches brought up is that to align more with tackle that the top seeds should be able to get to. And that might not be as big, trying to think of. So like with this Air Academy where he had to drive up, if it was somebody hosting it and they'd have to host 3 games.
Yeah.
So it'd be, the round 2 games and then the round 3 game.
I
So,
feel like it would be long days regardless, cause
Yeah.
you get Steamboat could host.
yeah,
And then you have 2 schools from the metro area having to drive over to Steamboat. I think either way, there's gonna
Yeah.
be some sort of,
us or Fort Collins goes down to Steamboat where it's a 6-hour drive, 5-hour drive.
What if you did the playing game on Monday instead of Wednesday? And then you did the second round game on Thursday. And then you did the third round on Saturday, as we always have.
Yeah.
Then the semis on Wednesday and then the championship on Saturday.
I like that.
I would not advocate for a Monday.
Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Yeah.
I get on
I-
that.
Monday,
Just
Yeah,
wrong days.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
that would work.
I don't, and again, so whoever's, and then that would allow on, obviously Tuesday, the higher, as it is today, the playing games, the higher seeds hosting. To your point, on Thursday, the higher seeds could host, and again, it would only be most likely 1 game at each location, right? Because it'd just be the
Yeah.
higher seeds
Right.
hosting.
Which could be a little challenging with tackle football, because they'll play some games on Thursdays.
You're right.
And with soccer. I mean,
Yeah.
you're impacting soccer if you do
Maybe they
Tuesday,
do Tuesdays.
Thursdays, yeah.
Yeah. So
So that's hard.
brainstorming, I'm just throwing it
Yeah,
out.
no, I know,
Right?
No, absolutely.
So, but if you did something like that, I mean, again, that could be get it into the same 2-week period.
Yeah.
If that's important, someone would argue, I have to play on Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday, so someone would argue about that. Right, I mean, because they would, and fair enough, right, so.
What's the basketball playoffs like? What do they play?
Higher seeded.
It's like a 3-day.
Season, so you don't have to play.
Like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Saturday or whatever.
That's the reality.
Well, and it's
Softball does the same thing. Softball,
Yeah.
like 2 or
That's
3
why
a day.
it's not like a tackle game. I mean, it's
It
taxing
is.
on your body, but it's like, it's not like a tackle.
Take it up.
So I think, good further discussion for that. And I think, depending on, if playoffs in general and the structure of playoffs evolve, I think some of that may take care of itself too.
Would, and just the last comment, football committee would have great input on a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday schedule. Or whatever schedule you want, right, or they want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Cause it's really what the teams kind of want, right?
Yeah.
I know we gotta coordinate locations and renting of fields and all that kind of stuff, but it's not you and me making a decision.
Yeah. Great.
Or all of us, right? I think it's more the coaches would say, let's do it this way.
So I think some obviously good discussion here. I think we'll continue to have that and look at ways that we may be able to potentially adjust that or move away from double headers. But I think we'll have to have some more discussion on that, kind of iron it out. So that's good. Next item that I have on here is just schools being able to use their own footballs as opposed to having to use the CHSAA provided balls. So
Dawn sent me a message before she hopped off because that came from Jeffco.
Okay.
Basically, they just want to use their own balls as they've been worked in all season. They're worn in. They find it's better to use those than brand new balls.
couple of things I'll add to that is, I think it's, and obviously we'll get feedback from everybody, but actually, I'll stop. I want to get feedback first and then I'll. So, thoughts on that?
Last year it was horrific, but it was a different situation. The Broncos, again, amazing, but they sent out their kits and everybody that I know of based around either using those balls that the Broncos sent out, or like me, I did the NFL flag that was the same exact size and equivalent, but a better ball than the USA football. And we went through all season like that. And then a notification came out very last minute, said, hey, comes our awareness that teams have been using the wrong size footballs. And so we're going to give you a new football. So for that, it was a much more dramatic thing because we went from a junior ball or a youth ball to a junior ball, completely different size ball. And these were brand new. And the first balls that they gave us were the rock hard, like not worn in, not leather treated. My 3,000-yard passer who was beating people 55-0 went to losing 13-7 late into the first. I mean, it was terrible.
First year, right?
This is first year. This last year, I thought you guys did a great job of taking people's feedback and having the two style of acceptable balls, the Wilson GST and this other rock hard one that I don't know why anybody would ever choose. But and the balls felt like I couldn't tell that they were brand new. My quarterback didn't say anything about it. So I think the idea behind it was just you never want to assume anybody's going to do anything with their own ball to like give themselves a competitive advantage, but it's the world that we live in. And so that's what I took it as, is just that takes that out of the equation. You guys were awesome and had plenty of footballs provided. And so quarterbacks and coaches could go over and be like, okay, this one. It was CHSAA logo on it. So it was very clear that it was from CHSAA. So I'm of the mind that was the right way to handle it. I wouldn't be opposed or say no if you decide to let people do it, but I just think that would add more to Greg and his team of now we have to go through and okay.
It does. I mean, even regular season, right? There's times where, whoever, I mean, the R always touches the ball.
Yeah.
Right. And so I encourage our guys, just do the squeeze test at least and see that it's the regulation ball.
Yeah.
Right. I remember one game specifically as a back judge, ball ended up at my feet. I grab it and I'm like, Rodney, put it away. I mean, it was flat.
Yeah. I think you would have to come to a standard of if you're going to do something like that all footballs must be this one specific football. Let the Coaches Association vote on what it is. I would definitely be about the JST speed skin. But even then, okay, so the CHSAA logo, I think, was the huge part of it. Because what if I come to the beginning and you test it out and you're like, yep, that's right, but the football I have in my bag on the sideline
100%.
is not. And now we're using a Tom Brady football, or whatever.
And I will tell you that happened last year, more so in the kicking game, the punting game, that they said, we're on a punt and a new ball would come in.
Yeah.
And we figured that out and we put a stop to that pretty quickly. But they were using a ball for some reason, flat, slick, I don't know. They figured out that for some reason they wanted a K ball. And like, no, that's not it.
I think the answer is kind of.
So they always figure ways to cheat.
Still, let's get to a standard of this is the football that we use as CHSAA, but we're going to use not brand new, but the same style football with CHSAA logoing, branding, and it's been worn in. And again, let the quarterback come over and pick from the 5 or 6 balls.
This may be a dumb question, but this is not the only sport we use balls in. So
Right.
what's the standard for basketball and soccer and tackle football and volleyball and
Yeah.
all the other sports that we use
Different.
balls for?
And that's what we're saying, Brent, go ahead.
It's different, I think, what she's asking.
Yeah, some of the sports are different, right? One of the things for considerations is just kind of across at a lot of levels. There's typically when you get to championships, one ball that everybody uses, and it's a new ball, and everybody uses it. Everybody's got to adjust to it. So it's not just one school has to adjust to it and the other. Everybody's got to
Yeah.
adjust to it. I think there's maybe some things that we can do to lessen that feeling of a new ball, right? So some things that Colette and I have talked about is, is there anything we can do to kind of maybe have the balls be a little less, right, in terms of wearing them out or wearing them down. I think the other piece too, just for everybody to remember is and coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but our coaches know which balls we use for our championships, right?
Yeah.
So knowing that, there's nothing that keeps them from purchasing those balls to use throughout the season, right? So, I think that there's nothing that keeps them from acclimating to those balls throughout the season so that it's not necessarily as big of a change when they come to our championships.
An email at the beginning of the season might be good. Like, hey, these are the two we're going to be using. It's highly recommend, if we're not going to make it a standard, highly recommend that you get used to this. These will be your choice. It will be a CHSAA branded one, not the one you bring with you, but at least you're used to that ball.
Yeah. I think that's, I think the other piece too would be, and I don't know if I want to sign us up for this, but possibly is, us sending out some of those balls to the schools prior to, now I don't know if it doesn't give them a ton of time, right? Because we don't know 100% who's in until after, but maybe we've got a couple days between first round or second round. Well, not set between that play in and then when we host, essentially, maybe we can send some balls out. But I do think teams get to pick which ball they want to use. Greg and his crew, I thought, did a great job getting that to the teams, letting them get a feel for it, letting them pick. So, but I think making sure that everybody's using the same ball, I do think that's an important piece to it. So,
I know we'd be happy to do something where, like, we take the footballs that we use for summer and maybe the first month and then donate those towards CHSAA or part of them or something like that. Multiple schools could send 2 to 3 footballs of that style. Then you got ones that have been used and you could have time to put the branding on and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Other thoughts?
Do you know what they do for tackle football?
We got a game ball from the state championship.
Yeah, so he sent John
From CHSAA.
out. Yeah, John sends those out because there's about a week, right? John,
Yeah, we got it on Monday.
John Sullivan sends those out to the schools. Let's get a week to.
Okay.
I know baseball CHSAA provides balls for.
Yeah, and I would say that's what I meant by it's different, like in lacrosse, baseball, like you want the new ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Volleyball, football, you don't. You know, so
Basketball
I
is
think it's
provided as a
different.
policy,
Right, for volleyball, for
Yeah.
basketball,
Yeah.
it's all there.
That's all
You
there.
just use the new one.
Yeah.
Like
Tackle though, John sent it to us on Monday.
Yeah. John and I, we had a really good conversation at flag football. And he had mentioned that he sends those out to the schools so they can at least kind
Yeah.
of feel for them. So that's why I brought up the point,
So I feel like we need to be consistent with
I
that.
think that's only the championship though.
It is, yeah.
Right, yeah. So we could do it, but at that point in time, you're all already used to it because you've been using it from opening weekend all the way through championship. So it would be more of like us getting it out to schools between that play-in. and-
Postseason.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
essentially.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, okay. Those were all of the items that we had on the agenda to discuss. Anything else anybody would like to add or, to the conversation or discussion?
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you all.
Well, and I'll turn it over to you to officially adjourn the meeting.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else. I'm officially closing this meeting out. So, speak now or we're ending it. And thank you, Amy.
Amy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't get there in person, but it is a
That's all
much
right.
longer drive for me than for some of you.
Thanks, Amy. We appreciate you.
Have a good one.
All right, you too. So we will, kind of action items, get the surveys, or not survey, we'll get the